Welcome back, everyone, to Monday Night Racing. This is the Season 6 playoffs being broadcast on Twitch, on Podium Esports Twitch channel, as well as my YouTube channel. We're back. The last time Monday Night Racing streamed here on my YouTube channel, it was Presley Sora clinching the Season 5 championship in spectacular maybe seems like too small a word to use to describe that live event. It's great to see you all again. It's great to be a part of Monday Night Racing once more. I'm still trying to get used to this new studio setup. I've just now gotten moved in a little bit. I have the microphone, if you guys are watching, hanging from above. Never been that guy before. I've always been a below microphone guy. I'm not sure I'm loving the above mic. We're trying to get used to it slowly but surely, but I appreciate all of you guys tuning in wherever you may be watching from. You're in for a fantastic show here tonight as the Season 6 playoffs are set to kick off from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Now, we'll bring in the broadcast booth in just a few moments, but before we do that, I think we should just kick this off by talking to not only one of the, administrators of the league, but also one of your playoff drivers. I believe we have Matt Stalnick on standby here. Matt, first off, can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, I got you guys. How you doing?
Hey, it's great to have you on the pre-race show. And first off, I have to thank you for inviting me back for the Monday Night Racing Season 6 playoffs. It's a pleasure to be helping broadcast this show once again.
Yeah, no, of course, man. Your audience brings us, a ton of viewers, to the show, and we're really appreciative of that. And more importantly, every time you've come on the broadcast, you've brought a lot to it. So I think it was a no-brainer, and we're glad to have you back.
Well, I'm glad I didn't scare you all away the first time. That I was just talking about the Season 5 finale, the last time Monday Night Racing streamed on this channel, and how insane that finish was. But now it's Season 6. It's the playoffs. And, Matt, you're in them once again. What do you expect tonight beginning at Richmond?
Yeah, so obviously a lot of changes going into the playoffs tonight that I think especially the playoff guys are all very cognizant of, and the biggest one being no fast repairs. So we're really doing a trial by fire tonight with no fast repairs on a short track. So should be exciting. I think it's going to be very much a race of survival. I would definitely expect a lot of cautions early. We're gonna have a really big field tonight. This is probably one of the biggest fields we've ever had for a short track race. With close to 40 drivers. To me, it's going to be entirely about keeping your car clean and doing everything you can to just stay out of trouble, because I think that's going to be the biggest factor as we kind of adjust to this world with no fast repairs.
Yeah, well, easier said than done. 40 cars, 40 drivers, short track, no fast repairs. Is this the first time Monday Night Racing has tried the no fast repair style?
It is.
Oh boy. It's a historic night.
This is a historic night, so let's hope it's history for the right reasons. But no, I think it's long overdue. So I think we're ready for this as a league, and I think it's going to have an effect of making the races cleaner in the long term. We'll see what it does tonight. I wouldn't kind of react one way or the other, depending on what it does, but the reality is I think there's not going to be a ton of guys left over at the finish of this thing with clean race cars. So, and I think that would be the case regardless of if we have fast repairs, just due to the nature of short track racing. So we'll see what we can do as far as the playoffs go. I feel like I have decent speed, but survival is the number one thing on my mind right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle, an attrition battle for sure. Well, Matt, best of luck to you tonight. We'll all be watching. Good luck the rest of the way here in these Season 6 playoffs.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome stuff. Great to talk to one of our playoff contenders here right at the get-go, right here at the top of the show. Qualifying is around the corner, and the goal is to go green just a little past the top of the hour. So I don't want to spend too much more time here just focused on me. I'd like to bring in the talented trio that's going to be calling the majority of tonight's action: Blake McCandless, Jacob Hitz, and Kenneth Bueno. Gentlemen, Blake, I'll send it up over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric, and welcome everybody else into what has been an incredible season so far. And we're looking forward to yet again another playoff run here of Season 6 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz on the call with you tonight. And Kenneth, this is the playoffs. It's getting real, and if we're being honest, we heard Matt allude to it a little bit in his interview. This is going to be a tough one tonight for these drivers. It's going to be very challenging.
it is going to be tough because it is a short track. We've got the super late models, which is a pretty intense car to drive behind the wheel, and you've got just all the nerves. The first time you're in the playoffs for this season, a lot of guys in it for the first time ever in their MNR careers, a lot of guys coming back, but that feeling always remains the same. And coming off the next gen to Talladega just 1 week ago, you had that chaos at an all-time high. I figure tonight it's going to be even higher just because the pressure's on. A lot of it's going to be about setting your foot in the right place, the right direction for this race, making sure you don't step yourself into a hole already in this first round. So this, Blake, going to be an unbelievable challenge for these guys, and it's going to be a huge first test as to who you might see be a favorite for this year's title.
I think so too, Kenneth. And one thing in particular, Jacob, that I think is kind of something that I think we're going to be talking about a lot tonight is the fact that there's been a rule change, and even Matt said it in his interview, no fast repairs tonight. That has been an MNR staple for a long time. We're now in Season 6. It's the first time that we're not having fast repairs, and at a short track, it's going to be important that you take care of your car.
The safety net that the drivers had coming into the playoffs is now gone. After last week at Talladega, officials decided that, yeah, it's time to just get rid of it entirely, and that's that. We'll see how this shakes up. The playoffs. I talked with a couple of drivers about that earlier today. Presley Sora and David Schildhouse among them, and Presley said, it concerns me a little bit, not because I'm worried about making a mistake. I'm worried about the other guys on the racetrack. And David Schildhouse kind of alluded to that same deal. And that's going to be the name of the game throughout the rest of the season. As we go on through the rest of the schedule, it's going to be the drivers around you that are going to have more of an impact on your race than perhaps you yourself. It'll be really interesting to see, especially how these playoff guys manage to get through the ladder and get to the Final Four when we go to Homestead, and see how they make it through without that fast repair, because from this point on, you break it, you're stuck with it the rest of the night.
Well, and Kenneth, I'll kind of throw it back to you because this is something that, how does this change your approach? Because I know a lot of drivers, they've kind of raced with this in their back pocket. They're used to the strategy. They're used to having that mulligan available for them. How does this change that mentality in approaching a race like this? 150 laps of Richmond is a long way to go when you have to take care of your car the whole time and you're not used to it.
Well, even if you're the most aggressive driver in the field, Blake, you're going to have to adjust to being a conservative driver, and you're going to have to somewhat tippy-toe your way around this Richmond Raceway, specifically with this combo, and it is going to change the mentality greatly, because when you had the fast repair, most notably in last season's playoffs, you can race as hard as you want. You can race without anything to lose, and you'd be like, all right, if I crash, sure, I've got this thing in my back pocket. I'll be fine. Now, it's really going to be dire for those drivers who do get in trouble without that fast repair, because their races are over. They don't have a chance to just recoup, get back on track, and that will mean a lot of lost points. So regardless of who you are in this field, regardless of what style you drive with or you're used to driving with in this series, as a competitor, you're really going to have to change things. You're really going to have to be careful. And I can imagine first couple of laps here tonight at Richmond, these drivers are just going to be tippy-toeing, going to be very careful, going to make sure they don't want to trash their car in the opening half at least.
I definitely think it'll change their approach, to say the very least. But when we talk about playoffs, guys, we are back here for the MNR playoffs. And if you look at the playoff bracket, a lot of familiar names that have been returning over the last couple of seasons, Jacob, some familiar foes going at it once again for the championship, and even some new names that we thought coming in would be a big factor, names like Corey Heim, Chase Cabry, that have solidified themselves in MNR here in Season 6.
And you have to remember, Blake, as well, we had 13 drivers in the playoffs a season ago. This time around, it's only 12. We still took 7 guys that were in the playoffs last year that are back this year. Only 5 different drivers in the playoffs this time. 4 of them for the first time ever. Garrett Smithley, the only returning playoff driver that wasn't in it a season ago. So there's a lot of consistency, really, but some of the names up at the top you look at, behind the top 3 of Cabot, Sora, and Schildhouse, Joey Padgett, Corey Heim, Chase Cabry, Leighton Sabile. Those are your 4 that have never been in the playoffs before. Really, 3 of them making their first full season. Sabile, the only one, I don't believe, who has already made a relatively good amount of starts to not count as a rookie. The other 3, though, Heim, yeah, he won a couple of races last year. We knew he was going to be fast, but Cabry and Padgett have been consistent and consistently fast. Cabry winning back at Twing Ring Motegi, Paget hasn't gone to victory lane yet, but it's his birthday today, and I think he's going to try and put that thing in victory lane tonight. We'll have to see.
Well, happy birthday indeed. We'll see if he can get it done tonight and try to get his way into victory lane. Again, 3 races in the round of 12. You see 2 for the round of 8. And, of course, our championship round at Homestead Miami Speedway, a fantastic track that, if you remember, just a season ago put on a wild finish to end Season 5. And it should be another good one tonight. But, fellas, this is my favorite part of the broadcast. It hasn't gone so well for me the last couple of weeks, but we're going to look at our picks to win here. And we finally get to have Eric on the show to kind of go over these picks. So, Eric, when we bring you in, we'll look at the picks. We'll allow you to explain yourself first. But we're going to take a look. I know who I'm going with tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and that is going to be a non-playoff driver tonight in Rajah Caruth. I think this short track, this fits his style. We haven't seen him all the time here in Monday Night Racing in Season 6, but I think he gets it done tonight. Eric, I'll let you state your case about Presley Sora.
Well, I mentioned him at the very top of the show, but last time we streamed Monday Night Racing on my channel, we had Presley Sora going to victory lane. I just loved his confidence all throughout last year's playoffs. I must admit, I don't know his history in driving super late models or at Richmond in particular, but I saw plenty of great things from him last season. So I'm thinking that carries over here into Season 6.
And by the way, Presley Sora, after he won Season 5, went and tested a late model for the first time. Never been in a real-life race car. He went and tested a late model just a couple of days after winning Season 5. So maybe that works here tonight at Richmond. Jacob, I'll throw it to you with Corey Heim, your NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure who to pick. Obviously, since we're in the playoffs, the floodgates have opened. We could pick pretty much whoever we wanted. Doesn't matter that we picked them in the regular season. Running down through the list, as soon as I got into practice, I was like, all right, we'll go with the guy that's on the top of the charts. It's Corey Heim. It's like, yeah, that sounds good. He looked fast in the practice race last night. Checked out a little bit of that just to see how the drivers would react, since this is the first time this track combo is happening on MNR and just the second time we've visited Richmond ever. So I thought, yeah, let's see what happens. Heim looked fast last night. He's fast so far tonight. Give me the 51.
Corey Heim with Jacob Hitz, and I was going to keep my eye on Kenneth because we're kind of battling for last year when it comes to the picks, but you're going with Ryan Vargas tonight.
You know, I hope, Blake, that we can try to, band together and try to beat Jacob at the end of the season, because he's running away with the lead right now.
Got a long ways to go.
Yeah, a long ways to go, but still, a lot of races left. But I'm going to go with Ryan Vargas. Over the past 8 races that we've seen the super late model here in MNR, there's been 8 different winners, so it's hard to really pinpoint an actual trend of a driver who's been really good at this type of car. But think about the last time Ryan Vargas went to victory lane. It was a while back, but it was with the super late models at Nashville Super Speedway in clutch fashion. So I'm just going to go here and put my money on Ryan Vargas in the 26. He's been relatively fast in practice. He's actually 3rd on the charts right now. So I think I've got faith in the La Mirada, California native to take another victory in his MNR career, lock himself into the next round.
So there you have it, your 4 picks to try and go to victory lane tonight in the Emergent VR Encounter 150 at Richmond Raceway. Well, on the other side of this break, we'll get things going for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. It's the Season 6 playoffs up next.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're going to run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 Gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
And welcome back to Podium Esports coverage of the first playoff race for Season 6 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries as we get set to go for 150 laps from the Richmond Raceway tonight in the Emergent VR Encounter 150. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, Jacob Hitz, and Eric Estep on the call with you tonight. And, well, Eric, why don't you go ahead and show us where we'll be running tonight and everything about this Richmond Raceway.
Richmond Raceway. Who doesn't love a good short track? It's a 3/4 mile short track, a little longer than most of the other short ovals on the NASCAR Cup Series schedule. It's 4 turns, of course, 14 degrees of banking in those corners. Pit road speed is 40 miles per hour. Going to be a great race tonight on this old asphalt surface. Good. Kenneth, we'll go to you with a race analysis as the cars are warming up behind me.
Indeed, with this Richmond Raceway on tap, we go for 200 laps, rather 150 laps here from Richmond, Virginia, just over 112 miles, 181.5 kilometers. The biggest thing, though, to note in this entire race analysis sheet on the bottom right of your screen, no faster pairs. There's not going to be that safety net for the drivers anymore. We've got 4 sets of tires on pit road, 75% on the fuel load, so we may see some strategy if we get into a long green flag run, and we do have those 3 attempts at a green, white, checkered, and overtime to end this race, Blake, that is, if needed.
Certainly so, Kenneth. And before we get things fired up under the lights, let's take pause and reflect with the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of
Qualifying has concluded at Richmond Raceway tonight. Why don't we take a look at the BST Shock starting grid for the opening race of Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. 21.636 is the quick time for your Roasted Gems Coffee Pole Award winner in Chase Cabry. Anthony Alfredo, who has had a number of internet issues over the course of basically the last month, it relegated him out of the playoffs, but he will start second tonight. Third third will go Ryan Vargas, and Raja Caruth will start in fourth in row number 2. It'll be Presley Sora in row number 3, tying the qualifying time with Nick Olson, who will go from 6th. Adam Kybett will start in the 7th position tonight with Gary Sexton to his outside. The number 13 will roll off in the 8th position. Alex LeBay will start 9th. Bailey Turner-Jacob will round out your top 10.
Starting in position number 11 is DJ Cummings. Reed Wilson lines up to his outside in 12th. Garrett Smithley and Joey Padgett, 2 playoff drivers, in 13th and 14th. They make up row number 7. Will Rogers was so close to making the playoffs after Talladega, couldn't quite do it. He lines up 15th. Colin Fern, who's in the playoffs for the second year, lines up in 16th. The winner back at CTMP, Sage Karam in 17th. Max Kennan, he was in the playoffs last year, not so much this year. He rolls off 18th. Former champion Robbie Lyons starts from 19th, and Ford Martin, who's at a different location tonight than usual, not at his home rig, he rounds out the top 20, Kenneth.
Rookie Connor Berry in the 02 rolls off 21st. George Balfans Jr. will be on his outside in row number 11. Matt Stalnick in the 41, the driver we talked to on the pre-race show, he's 23rd to start. Ronnie Osmer will be to his outside in the 55. P24. Jordan Buster in the 47 will round out your top 25. He's joined alongside by Stephen Ellis in the number 46 in row number 13. Josh Slate and playoff driver Lane Sabile start 27th and 28th. A lot of work for the Hog Tamers, number 25 in Sabile, who locked in from last week's race at Talladega. Justin Malillo starts inside the top 29, and Corey Heim looks like he might have messed up the second qualifying lap. He's going to have to start deep in the field from P30. Case Colomback starts 31st. Brandon Brown will follow alongside in 32nd. Michael Massey will be 33rd. David Schildhouse did not set a qualifying time. I believe might have messed up on both of the laps. He rolls off in 34th. Then it'll be 35th for Seth Eggert in the number 57. Brett Baldeck, Chris Weaver, and the number 11, Blake McCandless of Steve Affont, will round out your 38 car field from Richmond.
So 38 cars ready to contest this one tonight. As you can look at the weather, we've been in nighttime skies during practice, but with the capabilities of iRacing, we are just now at sunset and what would be 7:47 in sim time at the moment. So that sun that sets behind turns number 3 and 4 here at Richmond will continue to go down, cool this track off, and eventually put us in darkness. If you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you can see our grid rival featured matchups tonight, as they will cycle through the head-to-head matchups that you could have here with Monday Night Racing tonight. Again, we are proud to be a supporter and partner with Grid Rival, the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet. Not real odds that you can place in a bet, but if you do like betting on these races, or you do like betting in real life with some races, of course, you can go to our friends at Grid Rival, see their odds, and play it if you're in the App Store or on Google Play. If you're on an Android phone, you can look up and see the favorites here for this race tonight for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a build-up up to this point of the playoffs, and I'm at you, Kenneth, but just ready to throw the green flag on this and see how this race is going to play out.
Well, yeah, we can't wait. And as the sun sets here over Richmond Raceway, you can tell a lot of anticipation, a lot of anxiety in us with a lot of questions. We'd like to see exactly who's going to be the favorites, how are we going to settle the playoff field after tonight's race from Richmond, and how chaotic things are going to get to be. It's a long race, a lot of these cars without fast repairs. We'll see how it goes.
Pace truck going to dive to the safety of pit lane. Field will be in the hands of Chase Cabry and Anthony Alfredo. Stack up on the outside lane there from Anthony Alfredo, but these loud super late models will fire to life, and we are green here at Richmond. The complete lap number 1, we initially heard that Anthony Alfredo was assessed a black flag on the restart. However, that was cleared, but Alfredo, not a great start regardless, Kenneth, but he'll line up in line in 4th.
Drop back and forth, one car around. That is the 41. Matt Stalnick sideways at the exit of turn 2. and I believe he's going to be the only car involved in it, so we'll stay green. We'll see if he might have had some help on the way outside of the corner. I think just grabbed the apron, went around all by himself, so a caution does not come out, but early trouble for Stalnick, one of the playoff drivers in our field tonight.
Well, in early trouble for another playoff driver, Jacob. David Schildhaus, there's a rule that you have to try and put down a qualifying lap. He did it. He started from the pits tonight.
Well, okay, so here's the deal with Schildhaus. We talked before the drop of the green flag, a little earlier than that, but around 6 o'clock or so, and in talking, he came up with the idea that, hey, I'm going to start from the pit lane. I don't know if it was his idea, as it sounds like we've got trouble on the racetrack. Maybe I heard Garrett Smithley come over the radio and say something. It looks like we're good for now, but as for Schildhaus, he told me, look, I'm going to start from the pit lane, we'll get an early caution, and I'll be okay. The problem is, he didn't get that early caution. So he's a lap down, and then when he came onto the racetrack, there was a car spinning in front of him that I think he may have missed. It was tough to tell, but already a not-so-good start for Schildhaus, but he said over the radio, not that big of a deal. We're going to get cautions. We'll get back on the lead lap. Some trouble for some other guys, though, in the meantime. Will Rogers and Ford Martin, 2 wrecks for the price of 1 in the same corner, ending lap number 1 as you ride on board with Schildhaus back in the 38th position. The only guy right now, 1 lap down, Blake.
Yeah, so he would be in the lucky dog position, but it's definitely going to be an uphill climb for David Schildhaus, who I think was kind of resorted to the fact that this could be a race of attrition, at least early on. The practice race that they generally hold on Sunday nights went for 75 laps, and it was difficult for some of these drivers to try and get everything going. There you can see Ford Martin right now. He runs in 37th, but he is running in a very special rig tonight. You could see a whole setup. He's even got a little bit of help with him, and he's in one of those motion simulators, Kenneth. That, and I've tried it out at the NASCAR Hall of Fame when they had the Coke Series Championship there. A very cool experience, but as you can see, I think Ford's struggling with it a little bit as he's running back here in the pack.
Take him a little to get used to. I mean, we've talked about it before. If you race on other rigs, whether it's somebody you know, or let's say, you know, you're not available to be at your rig, but you can at somebody else's or what may have you, it takes a little while to get adjusted to that new environment, get a feel for how the race car feels with that rig. And so for Martin, I just believe it's just him trying to get this jitters out, trying to feel the car, feel it out over the first 9 laps. It's still early, so a lot of time to be able to really assess what's going on behind the wheel there. So Ford, we'll see exactly how much progress he can make, but some progress early on for Presley Sora, your defending series champion, coming into this Blake with a lot of pressure beneath his shoulders. Of course, the rookie driver that came into season 5 with blistering pace, won 2 races, went all the way for the championship at Homestead, and now trying to defend it all. And some progress here potentially on Ryan Vargas. Had the hand up just about a lap ago, but it looks like he's going to stay single file, and top 3, Blake, have broken away from the rest of the pack.
They really have, Eric. Your pick riding solid right now in the 3rd position in that Shack I-Gear Chevrolet. Moved up a couple of spots since the drop of the green flag, and right now trying to apply some pressure to Ryan Vargas directly in front of him.
Yeah, I like what I see right now. He's putting a lot of pressure on that 26 car. You guys may know better than I do. Right now, everyone's sort of riding around the bottom lane. Do you think there'll come a point as these runs go longer, perhaps, that we see the middle or even upper groups start to come in?
I think that's definitely a possibility. We know at Richmond Raceway, you see cars generally running all over the place. There's a lot of grip in these cars, though, Kenneth, in the sim. A lot of horsepower, but a lot of grip nevertheless. And I think for now, that's why you see so many drivers running the bottom part of this racetrack. But as nighttime goes on, I think that could change.
We may see some of the higher lanes be used later on in the night, and you're right, a lot of downforce is presented here on this super late model despite the heap of power that you have underneath the hood. Here's a look on board from DJ Cummings in the 10, currently riding inside the top 10 for the moment, rather top 11. That's Nick Olsen, the last driver in the top 10. He's going to try to get around before they enter turn 1 and get into turn 2, but it looked like there was some contact play into turn 1 between Nick Olsen and Raja Karuth about a lap ago. Karuth almost got completely spun, was able to save the car. They made contact again entering turn 3, and that's why you see Olsen, one of the playoff drivers in our field, beneath the cut line right now going into the first race of the playoffs, struggling early on and falling back as he tries to work against Gary Sexton in the 13.
There's a lot going on around here for this 9th position. We saw Olsen. He was kind of one of the first, at least up here at the front of the field, to really try and test out that middle lane here at Richmond. And you can see Gary Sexton doing a solid job of it. So our leaders are kind of running up front. They're at the bottom of the racetrack, but Gary Sexton doing a solid job of holding off right here in the middle. He's going to give way to Nick Olsen. But I think showing that middle lane, as far as defending, you can definitely keep your car up there and try to hold some drivers off. Nevertheless, Olsen goes forward and into that 9th position. Cabri, Vargas, Sora, Cabot, and Alfredo are your current top 5. And Jacob, in a race that I didn't know if it would look like this 17 laps in. Strung out, single file, everybody kind of running their own race right now. I know you hear a little bit of communication with the drivers. What are they saying so far?
Yeah, listening into David Schildhouse, he's just kind of been the guy that I've stuck to since he's been the most active over the voice, over his voice and over his stream, talking about, well, if there would be fast repairs, we would have wrecked by now, and everybody knows it. He's upset, thinking that there would have been a caution, saying that everybody on the racetrack's driving scared because they don't want to crash, they don't want to break their race car, and wind up watching the rest of this thing from the pit box. So we'll see how this plays out the rest of the way as far as drivers being scared to race around each other as you ride on board with the 51 of Corey Heim. I did talk with Ryan Vargas before the green flag tonight, and I asked, well, here we are again. You're on the outside looking in of the playoffs, 1 point out coming into this first race of the playoffs, and he said we're going to top 10 him to death. We're going to keep running consistent. He didn't have that consistency as of late, and he acknowledged that. Before Talladega, 3 straight finishes outside the top 10. Some really bad luck there. And he says as long as he plays smart and finish where he thinks he should, which is in the top 10, it'll work out. He's also running a special scheme tonight, painted by Davin Cornelius, honoring Ken Block. Not only did he want to run this scheme, his sponsor, Leargas Security, requested a Ken Block tribute car to be run tonight. He's not the only one. Presley Sora has a logo on his car, as well as Ronnie Osmer has a Ken Block tribute car as well on the racetrack. Blake?
Yeah, there's a lot of great paint schemes out there. And, of course, drive-through. David Cornelius does a great job making these race cars look tip-top as they can be. As you see that side-by-side battle now ending with Garrett Smithley, and Corey Heim continues his march forward through this field. He is now up to the 14th position. One car that's a little bit up the road from this battle is Colin Fern, and he is one driver, Eric, that has really been testing the waters. You talked about drivers moving around, kind of running the bottom, running the top side. Fern, especially here in 1 and 2, you can see the big run he gets down the back straightaway. He's kind of taking that wide arc through turn 1, bringing it up top and trying to get a really good drive off the corner. And right now, it's kind of brought him right up to this battle just on the outskirts of the top 10.
Yeah, watching him close up on that pack, he was diamonding the corner, which I always think is one of the hardest racing terms to say, diamonding, which you can open yourself up to trouble if someone gets to the inside of you, but when you're out in clean air and you're trying to reel in a pack, it works out great. So I've also been watching Corey Heim. He has pretty quickly cracked the top 15 after starting 30th after that mistake in qualifying. So he's right there in this mix as well.
There he is, and Corey Heim, he has just been so quick in that RaceEPI.com Toyota as he may look to try to make it 3 wide, and indeed he will into turn number 3. Fern shuts the door, drifts a little bit up the racetrack. You also got to throw Alex LeBay as a part of this fight, who has been, when you talk about top 10ing them to death, Kenneth, I know that was a quote from Ryan Vargas, but I feel like that's kind of been the approach for Alex LeBay so far in his Monday Night Racing career. He just always seems to hang around, have a chance there at the end, hasn't quite pulled through yet for a race win, but always is in contention, just hanging around on the outskirts of the top 10 just about every single race or combo we go to.
That set a good precedent. If you're this 36 of Alex LeBay, he's one of the many rookie drivers, Blake, in Season 6 of this Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So to perform as well as LeBay has been over this season, it's definitely been impressive to watch the Canadian rip around every different type of combo and still find a way to be consistent enough to run in the top 10 and run in the top 5 at times. And you look on board with a driver who's a little more seasoned than Alex LeBay, Adam Cabot currently riding inside the top 4, catching up to your top 3, but a good example there, Blake, of just raw consistency by one of the newer drivers in this series. And sure enough, I know he's not in the playoffs this year, but maybe next season we could see a lot more spring out of Alex Abey in that 36 if he continues to run a car on the wall up the road. That is Gary Sexton. He's going to fall a lap down, Blake. Remember, he was inside the top 15. In fact, still in it. P13 right now. It's just how fast the leaders are working around this Richmond Raceway at the moment. Sexton with a little bit of trouble, smacked the outside wall, and here he is, one lap down on the racetrack, I believe.
One lap down, Chris Weaver and David Schildhouse, at least from what I'm showing, the only cars that are being scored one lap down. Looks like Gary Sexton slots himself in 15th right now, has lost a little bit of ground since we started this race, has been falling back and struggling a little bit, and it's been a tough week for Gary, Jacob, because last week you think Gary was right on the edge. He was in the playoffs when we were running at Talladega last week, looked to be in a great spot to transfer in that grid rival Dodge, and things just did not align late in that race. The late cautions when everything was strung out did not work in his favor, and unfortunately going to have to go through the next few races without a chance at winning a championship.
Yeah, and he was somebody that we thought would be another driver that would go back-to-back in the playoffs from last season to this season. He got in one of those final couple of spots a season ago and was in position to do it again, but with the catastrophe of those last 2 laps at Talladega, everything shuffled up, and Gary Sexton needed some drivers to fall out, and, well, he couldn't quite get that to happen, so he winds up on the outside looking in for the playoffs. Blake?
Up front, it is still Chase Cabry, who has led all 33 laps that have been completed so far tonight, or I guess 32, I should say now. We've completed 33 laps as he crosses the board into turn number 1. Got a little bit of lap traffic in front of him. You see Sage Karam, another newcomer here to Monday Night Racing, has been awfully solid and even won in his debut a little bit earlier on this season. You can see him on the right side of your screen right now, hard at work in that Alpha Prime Racing number 43 car, and has worked his way up into the top 10. One of the bigger movers in this race, aside from Corey Heim, who was just behind this battle now. So Heim has driven up from 30th to 11th, just behind the driver you're riding on board with right now.
And that tells you, Blake, just how fast Corey Heim is, not only just on the short run, but on this long run. That 51 has not fallen off. And you watch here as he tucks up to the back bumper of Joey Padgett. He's looking to make this move. That is going to be a pivotal pass, an extra point loss for Padgett if he recedes this position from Corey Heim, a car up at the top of the racetrack. Looks like that is one of the lap cars in Steve Alfont, or rather Michael Massey there, running a paint scheme. There goes Corey Heim and Joey Padgett by, but you're right, Sage Karam there up ahead the road. I mean, they're all just looking for this 51, I believe, Blake, in the rearview mirror. They know how fast Heim is. They're going to try to play as much defense as possible. Frankly, it might not be enough as that 51 just continues to lap after lap, 22.647 the last time. Not exactly the fastest out of everybody ahead of him in the road, obviously, since he's been having to work his way through traffic, but you have to watch Heim at the moment, especially if he can continue to make his way up to the field.
Let's see if he can do that. Eric, I know you're kind of following along further back in the field, and I think that strategy of David Schildhouse, it works if there's a lot of attrition. Right now, there's not. And when you look at all the cars that are lapped down, Chase Cabry has lapped 4 cars. So David Schildhouse, we were talking about, he's kind of the only car lapped down in that free pass position. No longer for driver number 20.
Yeah, it was a bold strategy at the time. Currently, though, now I believe he is the 5th car 1 lap down, so no longer in that free pass position. And you look at the laps, they're ticking away quickly. We all expected this to, especially early on, be kind of an attrition battle. We talked to Matt Stalnick before the green flag. That's what he expected. But no, we're nearly a third of the way through this race, and aside from, ironically, that one light Stalnick spin, we haven't seen a whole lot. So this is trouble early on for one of our championship favorites, I think.
And one of those cars that is trying to stay on the lead lap right now is Case Collenbach. And Eric, I'd have to believe that you have to be a little privy to this paint scheme that's being run on this 84 right here. I mean, come on, it's got your face on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to toot my own horn. It does, in my opinion, look like one of the most attractive race cars to ever grace the high banks of Richmond Raceway. There we go. Look at that camera shot. Oh, yeah. My goodness. Yeah, that just reminds me that I need a haircut here in real life. It's a little too shaggy. Got to get back to that. But no, yeah, looking good out there. Keep it clean.
We'll see if he can keep that out-of-the-groove race car clean. Of course, Case Collenbach, the crew chief this past year for JD Motorsports, and that number 6 car that sported that out-of-the-groove paint scheme at Phoenix. I got to see that car up close and in person. It was a great-looking race car. Ryan Vargas did a great job driving it, but right now the 84 trying to hang on to the lead lap. Just a couple of car lengths right now, what is in front of your top 2, which includes Chase Cabry, but now includes Presley Sora. As you can see, Collenbach letting the leaders settle it amongst themselves, but Presley Sora, the last couple laps, been one of the fastest cars out on the racetrack.
And the same goes for Adam Cabot, who's riding in 3rd. He was inside the top 5, I believe, to start this race. Actually started, outside the top 5. He was in P7 to start, but moved his way up quickly to P4, then got away to P3 from Ryan Vargas, and slowly but surely he's been catching up to these top 2, so you better watch that 98 and the 17. Sora and Cabot, the previous 2 champions in Monday Night Racing competition, surely strutting out in this first race of the playoffs, and may just put the heat to Chase Cabry before this is all said and done. This is going to be good real estate, though, for Sora and Cabot, because you look up ahead the road, it's going to be a little while before they get to the next lap car in the mix, which is Ford Martin in the 07, currently running in P31. So this is going to be an opportunistic moment here for Sora, Blake, to be able to put in some good laps, not have to worry about traffic in the way, and just try to get around this 39 for the race lead.
He'll try to do that and lock himself into the round of 8 if things continue in his direction. But Jacob, I want to bring up a driver that we probably haven't talked about as much as we thought we would here in really Season 5 or Season 6, and that's Robbie Lyons right now. Started in 19th, running back in the 25th position. This is a former series champion. He won the championship in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series in Season 3. It has just not been a couple of seasons to write home about, though, recently for Robbie Lyons.
Yeah, he's really struggled a lot this year as far as putting together just complete races. There have been some tracks where he's been able to have some decent runs and then things fall apart toward the end, whether it's cautions, getting involved in wrecks, whatever it may be, and that takes him out of contention for a pretty decent finish. So Robbie Lyons in that too really, I think, has struggled a little bit. As you see a battle for the lead, here comes Sora to the bottom. He blows by Cabry after Cabry had been out front for most of this race. I heard some chatter from the Garrett Smithley camp about tires whenever they come onto pit road, because there hasn't been a ton of fall off here. We've run almost 50 laps now, and the leaders have only fallen off about a second. And most of that fall off was in the first, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 laps. Since then, it's been a really, really slow fall off for these race leaders. And that's why I think you're seeing them go at it right now. Still up here at the front of the field, Cabot and Vargas just kind of sit back and watch. But now drivers are starting to think about strategy. I think they were thinking we were going to see a lot of cautions. Hasn't been the story here for the first half of the race.
No, but we'll have to see who was prepared coming in, perhaps for these long runs, and whether we can. I don't know if these drivers, Jacob, when you talk about the super late models, we usually have a pretty good idea of what the fuel mileage is for the cars that we typically run here. With the super late model, you have a lot of horsepower. You're in the throttle a lot because of some of the grip that these cars have on the surface. I really don't know if we're in a position here where we're going to go about halfway on fuel. I think that's the case. But we don't really know, as we're nearly looking 4 wide for the race lead. They'll go 3 wide for second. Ryan Vargas is now up into the fray, as well as Adam Cabot, as Cabry and Sora have not been able to settle this battle amongst themselves. It's going to be a 4-car battle for the lead here off of turn number 4.
This is going to be big as Adam Cabot finds space and almost went for it entering turn 1. Blake, that could have been huge for the 17, who has really been picking up speed over the past couple laps for bringing in this quartet. And you've got mayhem. Sora still underneath Chase Cabry for the point position. And the 17 going to try and follow in the tracks on the bottom. What that is going to do, though, it should open the door for guys like Anthony Alfredo and maybe even like Roger Caruth. Both of them running single file behind this main pack up at the front. So you could see them chop off some lap time. And with these guys burning their equipment a little more, it could help their case. Sora finally clears for the race lead entering turn 3. And Cabot finally striking for second.
And Sora may do well here to try and make a little bit of a gap between he and second as they go side by side. You see Cabot on the bottom, Cabry on the top, and I think Chase Cabry has had enough. He lifts and he'll fall all the way back to fourth behind Ryan Vargas. But don't look now. Look at those couple of cars. They're a little bit behind this group. 3 cars, Anthony Alfredo, Raja Caruth, and Bailey Turner that have been kind of watching and I think seeing what they like up here as they battled. They've slowed each other down. And perhaps Alfredo, Caruth, they made up a lot of time recently. We talked about tire wear perhaps coming into play, and I think they're showing they have a lot of long run speed if you're the 33, the 024 of Raja Caruth or Bailey Turner.
That's one thing you love to see as a race car driver, Blake, is just running your own race, setting your own rhythm, and then just watching everybody in front of you beat themselves to death, because while they're doing that, you're only continuing to gain time. And by the time we see this quartet for the moment, we may just see a quintuplet, we may see a sextuplet, we may see even more drivers get into this mix. Fortunately, they've all single filed out first through fourth. They've just chopped off all that time to Anthony Alfredo and Caruth, Turner, all those guys running single file at the moment. And Chase Cabry was able to find his way around Ryan Vargas for third, so at least he has stopped the bleeding. But that was a big move there, Blake, entering turn 1 about a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps ago, where he just let them go on the outside, said, all right, I cannot be willing to lose more time on this very top group. I'll stay back for now. And here comes Adam Cabot, forcing his nose into turn 3. He's going to look for the lead coming into turn 1.
Your top 2 seeds side by side looking for the race lead here in the opening round of the Season 6 playoffs. And Cabot made an aggressive move into turn number 3 to get under Sora. Contact made there for second as Chase Cabry looked to prolong the bleeding there for Presley Sora, but Sora finds his way in second. So once again, change up front for the race lead. It is Adam Cabot, your Season 4 champion. Top 2 seeds, previous 2 champions here at Monday Night Racing, running 1-2 right now. Then you have Cabry, Vargas, and again, Anthony Alfredo continues to inch ever so closer to your top 4.
And I've looked at the laps, Blake, between your top 4 and everybody fifth on back. Cabot, of course, the fastest one out of that group with a 22.4. Now they cross the line, 22.5s across the board. So it evens out between the drivers first through fourth, through fifth and sixth. But there was almost a full 1/10 of a second difference in that lap, Blake, the last time through, just because they were battling that hard, losing all that time. And you have to imagine, if you're any of these guys in the top 4, are you willing to take the lead away with the risk of potentially losing all that track position with Anthony Alfredo, losing all that time with him, Caruth, and Turner on the way? Or do you just continue to battle and just say, why not? There's a pit stop on the way. We're going to have to go down anyway if it stays green. It looks like for the moment they're all going to stay single file and just letting themselves go. One car around sideways. That's Brandon Brown on the 12. And caution out for the first time tonight. Exit turn 4.
We were nearly about halfway through this race, Brandon Brown, and we were riding right along board as you saw it off of the hood. I believe it was Justin Melillo that we were riding on board with right there as he spun, or excuse me, it was Ford Martin. You're going to see off of turn number 2, Brandon Brown getting into turn 3. Stalnick's underneath, and Stalnick rises up the track, hits Brandon Brown, and a couple of innocent bystanders there. Justin Melillo coming short of yet another playoff appearance. Stephen Ellis involved in it as well. He was 1 lap down. And after all that, lap 62 was the count for caution number 1 of the night.
And you'd expect, Blake, a type of caution like that to come out sooner. There's a look on board with the 53 of Melillo, a hard hit to the right side of his super late model Ford Mustang, and right in front of the leaders, just almost merges back. We do have the drivers on pit road, though, so this is going to be the first big test of strategy, going to even them out all on the same page. You look at the 41, just a little bit of momentum in the apex of the corner. Just didn't have enough space to officially make himself known on the inside, and so gotten that contact with Brandon Brown. But Jacob, they are on pit road. Leaders are in. 4 tires, it looks like, for all of them.
Yeah, right side's up on the race leaders. They drop the jacks. They go over to the left sides go up. 1 car is already rolling off the pit lane. That's Joey Paget. Just a 15-second stop for him. Adam Cabot's going to win the race off pit road, though Paget did not have the track position up until this point. Paget was scored in the 10th position. He's going to gain a good amount of stops in his stall. Right side tires only for driver number 83. Everybody else taking foreign fuel.
And there was actually a crash getting onto pit road. Garrett Smithley and Reed Wilson, they were in 16th and 17th respectively. Oh, and it's because Steve Affont didn't know where his pit box was, got lost, turned across the entire pit lane, and Wilson and Smithley get wrapped up in it. And Smithley, you can see he's got a lot of damage on the nose of his race car. And again, no fast repairs. This is what's different about this race here this evening. They made the rule change after last week saying no more fast repairs, and there is the cost right there. Damage for Garrett Smithley of all places on pit road.
That's tough there for Smithley. Fortunately, I don't believe it's enough damage, though, to warrant him completely rendered out of this race. It is a short track as well, so you're not fully dependent on the aerodynamics of the race car. There's a look at Ryan Vargas, who is sped on pit road. So remember, Vargas running inside the top 4 for a majority of this evening's race, and now going to have to drop to the tail end of the longest line. So drama only continues, Blake, to ensue between multiple playoff drivers in this field, and that's going to hurt them largely here as we get closer to the second half of this race.
Running under caution for the first time here tonight. It comes at lap 62. We want to remind you that Interstate Batteries are built to top industry standards. Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. Powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed up by more than 150,000 dealers around the world, as well as 200 All Battery Center franchise stores, Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable and proud partner on the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, Jacob Hitz, and Eric Estep on the call with you tonight from Richmond Raceway. And Eric, I think all things considered, this has been the best start to a race that we've had here in Season 6. So we're glad you're with us tonight. Maybe that's the cause of it.
It's been a wonderful action so far. I know they're about to go back green, but the chat was loving that 4-car under a blanket battle. Both Cito Brown and Noah Coleman were saying it reminds them of 2014 Spring Richmond in the NASCAR Cup Series. And then Racing Guy reminded us in the chat that Corey Heim got all the way up to 9th.
There's a crash on the front straightaway, Eric.
Oh, boy.
Seth Eggert just got turned around. He was way off the pace. I don't know if he was letting drivers by or what. And Corey Heim went to the apron to try and get by them, and he drop-kicked the 57 going into turn number 1. That also collects the 8 of Chris Wilner here. Sorry, Chris Weaver going into turn 1. You can see Heim's got to go. He's trying to get toward the front. He's in the back after his bad qualifying effort, got the wall. And he winds up taking care of Seth Eggert there down the front straightaway.
I was about to say, I would have been very impressed. Chris Wilner, our good friend who runs in Monday Night Racing after calling the Tulsa Shootout and the Chili Bowl that's going on right now, if he were able to make it out to M&R tonight, that would be very impressive. You can see right there, Matt Stalnick able to get by. Brandon Brown spun again on the back straightaway after this. But I'm kind of curious as to how Corey Heim, who had driven his way through the field, restarted in the back of the pack. I think maybe it was a black flag for him. Yes, it was. He sped on pit road as well as Ryan Vargas. So 2 heavy hitters, guys, sped on pit road. That's why Corey Heim was in the back of the field for that restart.
Yeah, that was tough there for both of them. And Vargas could have almost been involved in the incident as well, because he was about to shut the door on Heim, who had a huge run on the front straightaway, decided to back out of it, and then all of a sudden Seth Eggert was the one who got hit, and Heim ends up causing that incident there, and they stack up there on the outside wall. Good news for David Schildhouse, who's been a lap down, Blake, for a majority of tonight's race. Thought it was going to be an attrition-filled one, but now with some of the cautions now coming out, David Schildhouse getting that wave around from race control Josh Mendoza. So Schildhouse finally back in the game. We'll see what he can make of it once we get back on the next restart.
He gets back on the lead lap with roughly 80 laps, or exactly at 80 laps to go in this race, as we are under our second caution flag of the night right now, as it looks like it is the sun's starting to set here in turn 4. The track has cooled down 7 degrees in about 3 or 4 minutes. So this track is about to go through what I think is a pretty big change, considering that the temperature temperature has dropped that much, should be a lot more grip out there for these race cars. And, well, if you like the racing that you see right now, you ought to love the racing for the 5th annual Podium 500. Signups are still available. You can sign up today at podiumesports.com. You can run your next-gen car at Daytona and join us for one of the biggest events on iRacing every single year. Again, sign up for the 5th annual Podium 500 today at podiumesports.com. See if you can join the illustrious list of Podium 500 winners. Should be a great race, and we look forward to that. It'll be taking place on the same Sunday as the big game that afternoon, so you can take in some Podium 500 action as well as the big game a little bit later on that night. So should be a good time. But we look up front, Adam Cabot, Sora Paget, Bailey Turner has worked his way up into the top 5, as well as Nick Olsen hanging around right there.
And Nick Olsen had a struggling start to begin as he rolled off P6 for this race. Kind of fell back to the field, had a little bit of drama and some contact with Raja Karuth, but finally back inside the top 5. We're still going to be rolling off in row number 3 here, so going to be pretty big here for the 24 if he can make himself known amongst the drivers who have been some of the best in this field, most notably Adam Cabot, Sora, Bailey Turner, rather not Bailey Turner, but the number 39 of Chase Carey here. But I mean, some different faces now with Bailey Turner, with Joey Paget making some calls, going to be 3rd and 4th. We'll see how they play with the front row. But obviously everyone going to try to catch the 17, who Blake came off of that great win at Auto Club a couple of weeks back. A lot of momentum riding on the shoulders of the Season 4 champion. We'll see how he controls the field when we get back to green.
And he gets an early jump in the box. Green flag as we are nearly halfway through this race. Cabot gets a great jump. He'll be out by a couple of car lengths. Big move further on back in the field from Colin Fern. He makes it 3 wide as they get into turn number 1. And we got a spin. That is Leighton Sabile who goes around. And boy, the rest of the field is going to pile in. Will Rogers, your Season 2 champion, gets involved. But unscathed are a couple of cars. And cautions breed cautions as we get yellow flag number 3 of the evening after some contact with Colin Fern, Leighton Sabile, and I think even Raja Karuth may have been involved in that one as well.
Yeah, I think it was just a loss of real estate. Almost went about 3 wide, and in fact they were coming out of turn 2. I don't think really everybody knew it. And the 24 just gets tagged by the 25 Sabile, and then by the time that happens, it runs out of space between the 25 and the 86 on the bottom of the racetrack. And that causes Sabile to get turned, obviously loses the race car. Then piling into the incident, Gary Sexton gets into the rear end of Will Rogers, and then the 55 Ronnie Osmer. There's a look from Ryan Vargas in the middle of this. Oh, and a huge hit there, and Osmer just goes up almost off of all 4s off the ground. And there's a bit of the front end damage on the 26 of Vargas. That may hurt his engine performance. We'll see what it looks like when he comes down pit road. They just stacked about a turn 2, and this, Blake, a typical track blocker. You see everybody pile up the track, they move all over the couple of lanes, and there's really nowhere to go.
Yeah, everything moving so quickly here at Richmond, especially because I think these drivers are starting to test the waters a little bit more when it comes to which groove you want to run. As, man, a nice job there for Corey Heim. Gets through unscathed on the high side of that wreck out of turn number 2. He's already back up to 21st after that speeding penalty put him at the rear end of the field. The out of the groove car, Case Collenbach, is back on the lead lap, so he'll get the free pass this time by. And Jacob, this is kind of more what a lot of these drivers anticipated coming in. Restarts, having to get a lot of spots, a little bit of attrition involved. We didn't see that. Everybody was pretty patient to start this race, but as we know, sometimes these drivers get a little confident, they get comfortable, and that makes them more aggressive than what we saw. We heard several drivers saying they were surprised by how tame it was at the beginning. Well, now that everybody had about 60 or 70 laps to figure things out, I think that aggression goes up, and I think you see the end result of it right here.
And it has to go up for some of those playoff guys that are no longer at the front of the field. Case A, Corey Heim, we saw that in the last caution. Case B, Ryan Vargas, stuck back there in the weeds after the speeding penalty. Damage to the front end of his race car, roughly 50 seconds of optional damage. The problem is he can't get far enough ahead of the pace truck to fix a lot of the damage. Right side's up on that car now. He's down and away off pit lane, just barely getting out in front of the pace truck and staying on the lead lap. He's still got more than 20 seconds of damage to fix on the front end. That was the same issue that 78 of Garrett Smithley had before that last caution, that he was trying to get his damage fixed after the contact on pit road. That took him multiple cautions to get his damage fixed. That's the issue with it being a short track. Quick lap times, even under caution, so you either have to be with the field when you pit or not have a lot of damage if you want to stay on the lead lap.
Hearing the word from race control that it is Raja Karuth who is going to be tabbed with the cause of that yellow. He is running and pacing around here in 8th. But again, one of the new or one of the rules that I guess we're going back to here is if you were deemed at fault for the incident, you will be put at the tail end of the field. And that's exactly what is happening with Raja Karuth. So Karuth at the back of the field. And Eric, I got to hand it to you. You're the only driver who has picked somebody that has not been put at the tail end of the field at some point in this race. So congratulations.
I'll take it as long as I can get it. It helps that my pick has hung out in the top 3 or 4 all night so far. So if he can stay out there where the air is the cleanest, I'm feeling good. Feeling good about it. This is going to be another exciting restart coming up, Blake.
We'll see if he can get it done. Presley Sora restarts in 3rd behind Adam Cabot, your race leader, and a great launch once again for Adam Cabot out of the restart zone. No spun tires for car number 17. The Atlas Hair Product Chevrolet rockets to the front of the field, and we are back underway here at Richmond.
Cleaner exit out of turn 2 this time. Bilo single file around your top 3, but Joey Padgett has a mirrorful with a battle between Nick
Golden. He's learned what he needs to do. He's going to be willing to make those moves. We know Colin Fern, an aggressive driver, get it done. He's going to be up front when it counts.
And you can never discredit him. I mean, he's made the championship 4 in the past couple of seasons. I mean, he's one of 2 drivers, Blake, in this playoffs, along with Presley Sora, from the championship 4 last season to have made it in contention for the title this time around. So Fern has a lot of experience under his belt and a lot of different styles of racing that he's been able to race around. So definitely Fern has learned over his experience in M&R. And right now I think it's definitely paying off. A lot of patience tonight. And so far it is working as he continues to work through these positions. And we'll now look to Bailey Turner a little bit up ahead the road. Is a little bit of a kind of pack up between Anthony Alfredo Cabri and the aforementioned number 5 of Turner. So watch out for that 86. Not outright the fastest car all night long by any stretch of the imagination, but best believe one of the most experienced and seasoned playoff drivers we've seen in this series over the past couple of years. Be sure to watch out for Fern as he continues to rip off lap time.
Well, you think about Clutch, think about his win to race his way into the championship 4 last season. We know that he can get it done when it counts. As you see the top 3 battling up front. Want to give a shout out right now to DJ Cummings, been hanging around in the 11th position for the majority of the night. He started there. It's where he currently runs at the moment. And Cummings just having a quiet night right now. You can see a lot of cars just up the road from him that we were talking about that battle with Anthony Alfredo further on back, the battle for 4th through 10th. But Cummings also doing a solid job in the e-NASCAR machine. It's a busy time in e-NASCAR with free agency for the Coke Series going live today. Even some media that's happening a little bit later on this week. So e-NASCAR getting in full swing along with racing season. It's hard to believe, Eric, that racing season is just around the corner. I know we have a short off season compared to most other sports, but I mean, we're about a month and a half away from the Daytona 500. It's an exciting time as always.
Yeah, this one seemed to blow by faster than most. I spent about 2 hours this morning planning some trips for the spring racing schedule. So I'm really excited. It almost can't come soon enough. And I know there are a lot of drivers out there enjoying their vacation. You probably hate me for saying that, but I'm excited. Daytona, first the Clash. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a good time.
Yeah, the LA Coliseum. I wonder what a Monday night racing event would look like at the LA Coliseum. And I think Jacob Hitz is screaming at his microphone right now. Why would you say that? But nevertheless, we're here at Richmond. We've had a great race up to this point. You see Adam Cabot, Presley Sora, and now Joey Padgett has worked his way into the fold for the battle for the race lead. Your top 3 have broken away, much like we saw earlier when it was 4 cars breaking away at the front of the field. And whether they can hang on to it. If they start battling, we saw earlier 4th on back caught them quickly, so we'll see how long they kind of stay single file like they are right now, and when they'll decide to try duking it out as they are further on back for about 7th and 8th.
we've seen everybody kind of accordion through the later half of the run as you watch Colin Fern now slip inside the top 5. So Fern has definitely been one of the most consistent drivers on this run. He looks next to Chase Cambry in the number 39 as you watch again that top 3 just settling themselves through. And it took a little while, like I think, for the drivers up front to get comfortable in that first run before they officially started going side by side, running for the lead and even running for third, almost going 3 wide. Maybe we're seeing the same here as we approach 55 laps to go. Maybe Sora and Pat are just waiting right now. Maybe Cambry and company start to catch up and they immediately start to turn up the pressure because we're getting into that last half of the race. Things are going to start to get a little hairy up at the front, especially when it comes down to those green bannered playoff drivers. There's a win on the line. There's a lock into the next round on the line as well. So be sure to watch that. But Colin Ferd moving into the top 5, nice to see. And a great battle that we've been watching from 7th on back, Blake, as well. Bailey Turner, Anthony Alfredo, Sage Karam, all those guys going at it for position. It looks like they've all single filed out, though.
You know, not a bad battle further on back either. There was even a little bit of contact for 19th between Raja Caruth, and we've been talking about this driver a couple of times, David Schildhouse, who finally got the free pass. We haven't mentioned him much as far as running up front, but he is slowly starting to creep his way forward and kind of make back some of those points that he was losing earlier on in the night, starting from pit road. But it's been calm, it's been cool for Schildhouse, who, as you can see right there with the points, the live point sits 2 points beneath the cut line. Now the benefit here of the round of 12, you have 3 races to get it done. It's not like the round of 8 where there's just 2. So if you're David Schildhouse, you at least have a lot of time to try to make it up. You see Garrett Smithley, Matt Stalnick, and Ryan Vargas right now, the 4 drivers who would be on the outside looking in should the playoffs end tonight. But again, still a lot of racing left to go. 51 laps. This leaderboard could completely change here in the next 50 laps.
That's definitely true, but you also think about the races that we'll have after tonight. You look at Daytona with the ARCA cars. Obviously, Schildhouse was the winner last time we had that combo in M&R, but the problem is that race in itself is as unpredictable as ever. Then you bring the Porsche 911s to Watkins Glen. That's also a shot up in the air. It's been a while since we've raced the Porsche 911s in any capacity in M&R. So you've got to sort of count what type of races you're going to favor the most and try to see exactly how you're going to perform in the races that you feel like you're going to do the best. You don't really want to put yourself in a situation where you're behind the wall or you're a couple of points beneath the cut line in races that you may not be as confident in. So Schildhouse picking up some positions right now. He should catch up to Lane Sabile in the point standings. By the time he gets around this battle, it's a great one, by the way, for P16 on back with, like you said, the drivers Raja Caruth, Gary Sexton, Schildhouse, Connor Berry, and Will Rogers. So we'll see, but Schildhouse definitely being patient, and it looks like for the moment he's starting to pick up some spots, and it's working over this long run as he now moves into 17th, gets around the 13 of Sexton.
And sir, Schildhouse!
Turn 2!
Oh my! He's nearly in the stands. David Schildhouse up and over and on his lid as there is a huge crash out of turn 2.
And he got tagged by Sexton. Remember that battle we were talking about? It was roughly 4 or so cars. Here's a look entering turn 1. And Schildhouse, who had moved into 17th, this was the pass for it. I think they just make a little bit of contact. Sexton, I think, might have pinched, and right there coming out of the corner, they make contact. And there's nothing that Schildhouse could do. Then piles in Garrett Smithley, George Balfans Jr. There's Brandon Brown going for a spin. I think that's the 47 of just Jordan Buster in it to follow. But as soon as you make that contact, Blake, it's hard to get out of that situation. And bam, Schildhouse goes hard into the wall. And that's going to be race over for the driver of the 20, who Blake was trying to come back after being a lap down in the first half.
His race isn't over, though. He's still moving.
Oh, is he?
How in the world that car is pacing around? How is that possible? First off, how about Justin Malillo being a real bro right here? He flips over Schildhouse, who would have had to take a tow, and somehow the motor in that car is stronger than Superman because he is still, I mean, he's pacing around right now. He didn't even lose a lap. That's unbelievable.
Wow. And you look at the 20 entering pit road. There's Sexton right behind him. I'm not sure exactly how much damage is officially dealt in terms of time on pit road, and I know we talked about it earlier with Jacob, the fact that this track is so short, it's so hard to spend a lot of time on the pit lane because you're most likely going to lose a lap, and Schildhouse just missed the stalls. He's going to have to back up. It's going to lose him some more time. Well, what an odd scenario there, but for Schildhouse, this is definitely another dagger to his race. Thought it was going to be an attrition-filled one, a caution-filled one to start. Got proven wrong with that clean run, got put a lap down, had to spend a majority of the race working his way back onto the lead lap, and then gets involved in this incident. His race is not over for sure, Blake, but it is, again, another setback into the steps forward that he had been making all night long.
Yeah, very tough there for David Schildhouse, but again, all things considered, I mean, I think his car is just lucky to be moving right now. I think is probably the best way to put it. And again, nicely done there for Justin Malilla. What a great teammate to be able to flip David over after he was sitting on his lid on the back straightaway. So a vicious crash off of turn number 2 between Gary Sexton outside of the playoffs and David Schildhouse, who is in, has put us under the caution flag for the 4th time with 44 laps to go. Most of the field, I should say pretty much everybody, electing, actually no, most of the field stayed out here, Jacob, I believe.
Well, so here's what happened. We had 3 drivers stay out. Cabot, Sora, Joey Padgett. 3 playoff drivers choosing to stay out under this most recent caution flag. The drivers behind them, so Cabry on down to, well, maybe Brett Baldeck, they all stopped here under this caution flag. Most of them, rather a couple of them, choosing to do just right side tires. Among them, Cabry, Heim, Alfredo, DJ Cummings, Reed Wilson, Matt Stalnick, Ronnie Osmer. Those are the guys that took 2. Everybody else taking 4 tires. And I got to say, guys, before that caution came out, I had an eye on Gary Sexton. He was driving those guys in that group very, very aggressively. He was beating and banging with some guys that he was racing with. Leighton Sabile was one of them. Max Kennan was another. And it was only a matter of time before, when you're racing that aggressively, with that much time left in the race, for a position outside the top 10, something like that's going to happen.
Unfortunate for David Schildhouse, who gets the worst end of it. Green flag in the air, and we'll see if that tire strategy that you talked about, I'm not so sure I'd want to be your top 3 on no tires, because here comes Chase Cabry. He's on 2 tires, and he looks like he is pretty fast here through the center of the corner. Yeah, you can see how much speed he carries, but caution flag is going to slow his progress as there is a spin, I believe, in turn 4, a crash. You can see the 8 right there parked against the outside wall. That is Chris Weaver. Brandon Brown's involved in it, Steve Affont. And honestly, I think this may be kind of a secondary incident. Some drivers were looking to almost pit. They were trying to miss the pit road entrance. Actually, I'm kind of looking back through my replay. I believe this all started with Raja Caruth and Alex LeBay had some contact. You can see off of turn number 2 right there. And oh, yeah, right there, Sage Karam into the back of Raja Caruth. And the rest of the field reacts to that. And that's where we get our 5th caution flag of the night.
This is a huge domino effect. I believe it started with Colin Fern, the fact that he slowed down a little early for the entrance of turn 3, and then that stacked up Alex LeBay, it stacked up Caruth, and then Karam got brought into the mess, and they go sideways. You watch the 21 there go sideways as well. They make some extra contact, and as they're coming back up the track, a little bit of avoidance there from Steve Affont. It's into Chris Weaver, and then tags in the other 2 cars. And you saw one car as well go sideways at the exit of turn 2. That was obviously away from the entire incident. That was Stephen Ellis and his number 46 machine. But I think just a classic case, Blake, of just drivers heading for the brakes a little early into turn 3, trying to be conservative. Some of them not anticipating that big checkup, and then Karam just slamming into the back. A little miscommunication there, and it brings out another caution with 40 laps to go.
This is tough to sit right here, Eric. I'll kind of pitch it to you. I know we kind of saw a little bit of a sample size, a very small one, if that, on some of these drivers up front who are on old tires, 2 versus 4. Where would you want to sit right now?
It's tough because most of the incidents we've seen have been outside the top 10. So if you pit here, all those guys who just pit stay out, you're going to lose all your track position. There's only less than 40 laps to go now. They're kind of in a tough spot. I don't know. Maybe they've already made their bet. If they want to risk racing back in traffic, maybe a pit here and try tires, because I agree. Chase Cabry there, I know it was only about half a lap, but the way that car just seemed to bite in the center of the corner, I think he's in the catbird seat if this thing, if their strategies stay the way they are.
We'll see if it plays out. I kind of like 2 tires right now personally, but again, that's why we run the races. We'll find out. And speaking of running the race, we took a look at our Grid Rivals matchups before the drop of the green flag. You get a little bit of an update right now on those head-to-head matchups, whether they'll be running way ahead or way behind. I would say that second matchup right there definitely favored Corey Heim for the majority of this race, and after Showhouse flipping, you'd have to say that's a pretty safe bet right there. Joey Padgett and Cabry have been awfully tight at the front, so a lot of close matchups here in these Grid Rival head-to-heads. Again, Grid Rival is the most in-depth fantasy motorsports manager game on the planet and is full of engaging features that bring a new level of engagement to your favorite racing series. Grid Rival is proud to support Monday Night Racing, and you can check out the Grid Rival app in the App Store or on Google Play if you are on an Android right there. There's a lot going for it, and there you can see the overall race odds. If you're Presley Sora, I'd say you're pretty good as far as a long shot is concerned. I don't see Joey oh, there he is, plus 1,900. That's probably, as far as the biggest potential right here, that'd be the biggest moneymaker up here at the front of the field.
Yeah, definitely would. And I wouldn't be surprised as well, considering Joey Padgett's reputation in M&R being up front late in these races and having a shot at these wins. Obviously, he's going to be on the back foot here, having to rely on Adam Cabot and to react on this next restart. But Padgett definitely one of those to watch, and obviously one of those on old tires, but still, that call has paid off, and with these cautions come out, it may just help him even more. Ready for a restart here, Blake.
Looking to get going once again up here at the front of the field. Some contact there in the second lane. Presley Sora, Corey Heim. A little bit of scattering further on back in the pack. One car down the apron, that's Garrett Smithley. So they are fanning out here at Richmond. And here comes Chase Cabry. A huge run off at turn number 2. Those new tires are going to work for car number 39.
And he's going to bring in the 23, or rather the 33 of Anthony Alfredo with him. Alfredo may look to the inside of Padgett before they get to turn 1. Padgett, they're going to shut the door before he gets there. And here comes Cabry. That was a huge close of the gap. By the time they enter turn 1, Cabry going to arc out of turn 2. And here he comes for the race lead. Cabot trying to play defense. Cabry going to back out, but may have the run back to turn 1.
Cabry trying to get a big move, and here he makes it off of turn 4, side by side for the race lead with 34 laps to go. Alfredo looking to dive bomb Joey Padgett for third, but Chase Cabry, unchallenged right now up front, is going to take the race lead. Cabot and Padgett trying to hang on as those new tires are working so well for those drivers that came down. Sora's falling back, so is Padgett, so is the rest of the field, as DJ Cummings is very upset about something.
He's in a dead battle right now with Garrett Smithley, or rather Alex LeBay in the 36, and Roger Caruth on the back of all of this. Colin Fern as well, a couple positions behind in P14. They're starting to heat things up around the mid-pack. Here's a look at everybody up at the front, all single file. They may be 3 wide. That's Roger Caruth in the background looking underneath, and they are 3 wide, entering turn 1.
Caruth to the bottom, Alex LeBay stuffed there in the middle, and the move works out for Raja Caruth, who got put at the end of the longest line for causing an incident a little bit earlier on in the night, and he is finding himself up at the front here with 31 laps to go. Clears Alex LeBay, so gets both of those spots. Does the 0-24 as they are 3 wide once again further up the road. That is Bailey Turner, just inches. Oh, and it's not going to work. Turner goes around right in front of Joey Padgett, and I believe he's the only casualty. No, he's not. 21 gets turned a little further on back. That is Max Kinnon, who was very upset with, I believe that was Ford Martin that made contact with him. Caution is out. And all things considered, turned around, right reared at the front of the field. Not a bad outcome right here. Turner, you can see him on the bottom once again. Padgett in the middle. And not a whole lot of room for 3 race cars off of turn 2 here at Richmond.
And it's similar to some of the other 3-wide instances we've seen. Once that room runs out and you don't have a lot of space, once you get off of that banking there coming out of turn 2, most notably, it's just at that point inevitable for contact to be made. And as the 83 gets into the 5, obviously nothing they can do to get around from all that. And then the more cars get into it. You see the 21 machine of Kennan getting turned around. And more drivers getting a bit of damage, and that's so tough for Turner, who had been building this good run all night long. Now going to hit pit road, but he is joined, Blake, by Presley Sora in the 98. So a big call here inside, 29 laps to go.
Oh man, the bleeding perhaps gets worse here for Presley Sora, Jacob. That is a bold call. I know Sora was falling back, but he's in 10th. He may fall back to about 25th or so by taking these tires.
Well, and remember here where he stayed out 2 cautions ago when the big accident happened involving David Schildhouse. 4 tires and fuel for driver number 98. He goes to work. He is now in the 26th position. Bailey Turner also joined him in the pit lane. He had a little bit of damage to fix. He is down and away. Those were 2 guys that were up inside the top 10 before this most recent caution came out. That they decide to come down and pit. A really bold strategy here late in the going, coming up to just 25 laps to go.
28 to go at the moment. Let's catch up with our ToughGo in-race reporter, who is he has some new scenery here from this vantage point. Ford, we could see you leaning right here. How's the car feel? How's that unique sim rig? How's it working for you?
Man, it's been good. It's been a lot of fun. I'm telling you, it's a lot to get used to. You can probably see, maybe you've seen a little bit already when I'm in the corners, but the chair leans, the wheel doesn't lean as much. So. But huge credit to everyone at the Emergent VR Encounter. They've come and let me run this rig. As you can see right here, it's tilting a little bit here, but just thanks to those guys for letting me come out here and race. I'm heading on a cruise tomorrow for a vacation tomorrow morning on Royal Caribbean. So we're really excited about that and needed to find a rig to run this race. I've run every single Monday Night Racing race, so I couldn't miss this one. And we'll running 15th on it so far, so I guess not too bad.
I was about to say, would you do a little bit better? I think some seatbelts would kind of help with that lean a little bit right now.
I'm just hoping nobody wrecks me or anything tonight, because I might need a Honda device. I'm not really sure. We'll see.
I was gonna say, I tried one of those out at the Hall of Fame, and the braking power in it, when you lean forward and you hit the brakes really hard, it's a cool feeling and very, very realistic. So we're glad that you're having fun, and you've worked your way up to 15th. We'll see if you can crack the top 10 or perhaps a little bit better here in these closing laps. So good luck, and have fun the rest of the way.
Great, thanks guys, appreciate it. Have a good one.
That is Ford Martin, as we just mentioned, running in the 15th position. He was about 36th earlier on, and I think he's gotten used to that motion rig for now and has found his way further up the road. Joey Padgett into the longest line. After that caution, they deemed that he was at fault for that 3-wide move, and again we reintroduce EOLLs if you're deemed at fault. So Padgett gets put at the tail end of the field, car number 83, so he is going to have a long ways to go to try to make his way back through the field. Presley Sora also restarting in 24th on those fresh tires. But up front, it is Chase Cabry and Anthony Alfredo who get us back underway. 25 laps to go here at Richmond, and they are banging doors for second between Adam Cabot and Anthony Alfredo.
Yeah, they tussled there as Corey Heim trying to make it 3 wide before they even got to turn 1. And I question here how the 17 of Cabot's going to survive here on the oldest set of tires out of anyone in this field. By the most part, he's going to make some contact with Alfredo. They're going to stall for second. And now here comes Heim, charging 3 wide for turn 1 for P2.
A late dive there from Corey Heim, but Alfredo is able to scurry away, but the 51 has wasted no time. He's pretty much driven through the field twice at this point, and finding his way up to third goes Corey Heim by the old tires in Adam Cabot. And Rajat Karuth, another name that has driven through the field once again, looking to get up into fourth. He's able to do it as you ride on board with Matt Stalnick just behind this bout off at turn number 2.
These are 2 drivers, Blake, that have been kind of up and down all race long, haven't had the best shot to compete with the drivers, most notably first and second. You see Cabot there still trying to hang on to the tires that he has on his super late model. At least the battle between Matt Stalnick and Alex Abey might help his cause. but we've seen Corey Heim and Carruth put up some good laps, be very fast around this Richmond Raceway. The only problem is they haven't had the outright track position to be up front. Heim starting in the rear of the field. Carruth, despite
there's a crash.
Caution out on the racetrack. It's Connor Berry and Justin Malillo back straight away.
So we will pause things once again, and I think that was just Malillo getting a little loose off of 2, and you can see that car flies out from under him, and man, what a big hit there for Connor Berry. Heavy damage on his 0-2 machine, as Malillo looks like he got a little sideways off of turn 2. We'll see it one more time.
The first time we've seen that, and there's one thing here about this Richmond Raceway that we haven't really talked about, most notably with these cars that have so much power and where you can really spin the rear tires. There's another look at the hard hit at the inside wall by Connor Berry. When you get out of those 14 degrees of banking, most notably out of turn 2, the banking immediately switches to 2, and there's not much of a smooth transition. It's more sudden than ever, and once you get down in that dip, it can be so easy to snap the car out sideways. It looks like that's exactly what happened to Malillo's car, and then obviously as he was trying to chase it down the track, there's nothing Connor Berry could do. He was there on the bottom just trying to race his own race, and that just creates the issue in there. And obviously the 66 of Reed Wilson giving that extra tap to Malillo, and unfortunately they're both going to fall back. But look at this, Blake, as we watch the playoff standings on the right side of your screen, that three-way tie. The 98, the 86, and the 24, Sora, Fern, and Olsen all tied, and then the 3 points back to Ryan Vargas, who was sent to the rear of the field a while back. Look at it, unbelievable how much the points have shaken so far as we enter 20 laps to go.
It is so tight right around the cut line, and that's just going to be after one race. We still have 2 more to go in the round of 12. You can kind of venture all the way down to the bottom of the leaderboard, though. We mentioned that David Schildhouse's car was moving. Well, guess what? He still had a lot of required repairs left on that number 20 car. He is 23 laps down and 22 points beneath that cut line. So he's going to make all the laps that he can, but right now just trying to salvage some points. But early on here, Eric, I think if you're David Schildhouse, you might start thinking already about being in a must-win situation.
Yeah, currently tracking minus 22 points, like you pointed out. If I remember anything from the Season 5 playoffs, though, is David Schildhouse knows how to win races, even when he doesn't have to. I think he won at least 2 races in last year's playoffs, so he's going to have 2 more chances in this round to get it done. I do want to point out real quick before we go back green that my initial pick at the start, Presley Sora, was looking good. Then, of course, got off sequence on some pitch strategy. He did move up to 16th after restarting 24th on this previous restart, so not a lot of time left. He's probably going to have to dodge another crash or 2, but I want to keep an eye on Presley Sora. They're kind of mid-pack. He's got fresh tires, and he's on a mean streak right now.
We'll see what he can do. Again, one of the top 2 seeds and your defending series champion coming into this opening round of the Season 6 playoffs here in Season 6 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. And you want to set yourself up well, Kenneth, because next up is ARCA at Daytona. We don't know what's going to happen there. It's Daytona. It's the legacy version, so it's bumpy. There's not a whole lot of room to go. It's a tough handling racetrack. There is a lot going on at Daytona. You do not want to put yourself in a position that you have to win or run well there, because it is such a wild card.
Yeah, of course, any super speedway race in any case is a wild card, but with the ARCA cars, how those cars drive in Daytona to couple with it. I know we had a similar style of race last season in the middle of the playoffs. That obviously just brought us an unpredictable race. We saw an unpredictable finish. We weren't expecting it to end the way that it did, but it did. We had David Schildhouse as the winner. There is just so much chaos that can fire off at a track like Daytona with those cars in particular. So you're right. You're going to have to try your best to just do the best that you can and have a good race here at Richmond, because you never know what could happen at Daytona. And even then at Watkins Glen after that, it's just a wild round to start the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a good thing. If you're not a road course ringer, you need a win tonight or Daytona if you need it. Green flag back in the air. They fan out once again. 3 wide. Further on back in the pack into turn number 1. You can see Colin Fern all the way up the hill here in turns 1 and 2 at Richmond. Leighton Sabile finds his way up towards the front of the field. Adam Cabot still trying to hang on those old tires. And side by side for third, here comes Raja Carruth.
Yeah, Caruth has been consistent and finally able to strike. He's going to try to follow the 51 in his tracks. Exit turn 2. He'll successfully do so. They'll clear ahead of Anthony Alfredo. He looks for the crossover.
Oh, and he dumps him.
The 24. Caruth
What a
goes
save.
sideways and a huge save exiting turn 4.
What a save by Raja Caruth, and they've had beef before, Jacob. That's some history right there. Alfredo is out of the playoffs, so is Raja Caruth, but we know these two have not seen eye to eye for quite some time, and I think that just reared its head that last trip into turn number 3.
We had the same idea. As soon as I typed it, you said it. These two went at it back in season 4. Of course, then they were both fighting for a championship this time around. Neither of them are, and how that all played out is now Ryan Vargas. No, that's Leighton Sabile and DJ Cummings are going around in turn 1. There is no caution. They get it rolling. DJ Cummings going to lose all that track position and more. He almost got roughed up by Ryan Vargas a lap prior. Now there's more trouble. Ford is around. Sage Karam, more crashing in turn 4. Caution flag is out. None of your playoff drivers involved in this one. Somebody just drove backward straight into the mouth of Brett Baldeck. Reed Wilson smashing and bashing here in turn number 4. Anyway, the contact between Raja and Anthony, that was some net code going into turn number 3. There was a good bit of distance between those two cars when they collided going into 3.
Reed Wilson is not happy after that, as there were a couple of different incidents going on right there. There you can see the initial cause of the incident. Sage Karam, Ford Martin. What was it Ford said a little bit earlier? I hope I don't get in a crash. Well, I'd love to see perhaps how that looked from his vantage point, as that motion rig probably rocked him around a little bit after getting hit there by Sage Karam. And you saw the aftermath there in a turn number 4. Tough sledding for some of these drivers further on back in the field. As you mentioned, though, no playoff drivers wrapped up in this one, but my goodness, a lot to cover from that run. Raja Caruth, a remarkable save. There's a lot going on that run.
Yeah, a lot going on, and they were also stacking up a lot of playoff drivers too, with Nick Olsen, Lane Sabile, Colin Fern, all of them were around, and Lane Sabile got turned sideways. They were about 3 wide with DJ Cummings, so just a lot of drama overall, even for non and playoff drivers in this mix into the final 10 laps of this race. An unbelievable way to keep from not having a caution in those first 2 incidents, but then obviously having the outright explosion in that final incident there for 3 and 4 to bring us that caution flag. The drama only continues to build, and we still got 10 laps left and the possibility of overtime if we end up there. So things could only continue to get hairy, and I'm looking at guys like Fern, Olsen, and Sabile who are in that 3-way battle. They're now at the cusp, potentially falling back beneath the cut line, because Ryan Vargas has tied with Lane Sabile, and it's only a 2-point difference between himself, the 24, and the 86.
And again, that's going to continue to change around here in these next 10 laps. And we'll see who can make up some points, who can get a few. But, man, it is going to be close if that is the final result, that anybody from Stalnick all the way down to Smithley can fall out or put themselves in with a good run at Daytona. Remember, Garrett Smithley won at a super speedway to open season 6 at Talladega. It was the car tomorrow. It was a little bit different scenery, but he won a super speedway track to open up his season, and we'll see if he can get it done. Also, some news from Garrett Smithley. BJ McLeod Motorsports changing him from the 78 to the 99 car, so a number change for Garrett Smithley, who again will run full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2023. So of course, congratulations to Garrett. We look forward to seeing him every Saturday running here in NASCAR in 2023. Going to be fun. Getting a call from race control. End of longest line is given to Sage Karam, car number 43, for getting into Ford Martin. He'll be put at the tail end of the field. We also got a chat warning for Ford Martin.
A little drama there for Ford. We're going to double them up, though, for this next restart. And biggest thing to note here, Blake, at least from my perspective, is that 51 of Corey Heim going to be outside of row number 1, and that's been a problem for those drivers there over the entire sequence of this race. Every time you've had a restart, every time the leader just gets an early jump, driver on the outside row one just gets left off behind. That's kind of what settled what happened at Auto Club a couple of weeks back. If you remember, outside row one, a big problem just because the leader has such an advantage. So I'm curious to see how Heim deals with this and how he is able to fend off the likes of Anthony Alfredo and now Alex LeBay, by the way, Blake, who has stepped into the top 4 for the first time all night long.
See if they can hold on. Just 7 laps to go. Green flag in the air. Cabri, your race leader. Corey Heim trying to find ground into turn number 1. He can't do it. Further on back, Caruth made a 3-wide move. They're 3 wide off the corner. Colin Fern gets a heck of a run, and he'll try to throw it 3 wide, but he thinks better of it as they crash off of turn number 2. Further back in the pack, and a big accident actually at the entrance of turn 3. It started off at turn 2. One car flipped, so we have had multiple flips tonight here at Richmond. And yet again, the yellow is out late in the going, and this is going to put us, if not into overtime, close to it.
And the second time as well, Blake, that Bailey Turner gets turned at the exit of the second corner. You watch here, that's the 44 Brett Baldick, but it happens way up the road. There's Bailey Turner in the 5, that black and white super late model in the middle, 3 wide. Ford Martin on the bottom, George Balfans up at the top, and right here as Turner comes up the track, gets into the 94, and up sideways, up and over goes Turner, and even a little up and over goes Jordan Buster in the 47, who gets caught up with Robbie Lyons at the top end of the speedway. There's Karam, Cummings, and Baldeck involved in that as well. And just lap after lap, restart after restart, Blake, we continue to see just a little slightest bit of contact create multi-car accidents. There you look at the 47 and the 2 getting tagged up at the entrance of turn 3, and then Turner trying to get back up to the gears. Turner had a great start to begin, Blake, and it's just gone sour at this tail end as he gets caught up in another one.
Tough sledding there. Further on back in the pack, 5 laps to go. We still run under the caution flag. Again, I'm curious to know when the caution will end, if we'll be in overtime or if we'll kind of be in natural green-white checkered territory that wouldn't count against one of our 3 attempts at overtime. You see the lights stay on, so we're at least going to have 2 laps to go when we get back going under the green flag. Hey, Eric, I'll throw this question to you. I know this is Richmond. We're at a short track. If you think back to the Xfinity Series a little bit earlier on this year, you saw some fisticuffs between John Hunter Nemechek and Ty Gibbs for the race win. Do you think we kind of see the same thing here? I know these leaders are getting a big jump, but do you think Corey Heim, Anthony Alfredo, would they be willing to put the bumper to the back of Chase Cabri to try to go to victory lane?
Well, we've already seen Anthony Alfredo put the bumper to somebody here in the late laps, so I have no doubt in my mind he will be aggressive going for the win. But you mentioned it there, Blake, the leader on these restarts, like the actual guy in first position, has been able to pull away and get a little bit of daylight between himself and the rest of the pack. But if we get into overtime, 2 full laps to go, the rest of the field's going to have to pretty quickly try to reel him in. They're going to have to settle things much quicker than they have been so far. But I'm excited. And again, I'm going to keep highlighting my guy Presley Sora. He's up to 9th. Try making things happen, Blake.
He is making things happen. I think someone else that's making things happen, Kenneth, is Adam Cabot, who is on 84-lap old tires. And we talked about time and time again how these drivers up here, they had fresher tires than Cabot. Cabot has done a masterful job at hanging around here in the top 5. You think of everybody else that was on his strategy, Joey Padgett fell on back, Presley Sora had to come down pit road, but Cabot has been hanging tough up here in the top 5, and he may not get a race win like I'm sure he was looking for, but nevertheless is going to put in a solid points effort. It's those type of runs that I think kind of help you win a championship.
Yeah, he's definitely outlasted the other 2 that were on his strategy. Like you said, with Padgett in that penalty area and Sora coming down pit road, even though he's P9. Cabot still holding on in this call, but these cautions have definitely helped him. If this race had stayed green, who knows where Adam Cabot may have fell through the category, especially around a lot of the playoff competition. You think of guys like Nick Olson and Colin Fern, a lot of those green bannered playoff cars behind him. These cautions have helped, so Adam Cabot could just roll on these last 2 laps, be able to hold on to a top 5, and could be gaining a lot of momentum for Daytona next week. Looking for that 2nd M&R championship. We'll see, though, how he deals and everybody else deals with this last 2-lap dash for the finish.
Two playoff drivers in the first row, and a great launch for Chase Cabry at our first attempt at overtime. Green flag back in the air here at Richmond, and we'll see if we make it around one more trip. Cabry, your race leader. They are side by side for second with Corey Heim and a bunch of others. Do we have a spin further on back that may change this thing up? It looks like Cabry may just get there to the white, and no, they're wrecking out of turn 4. Just mere feet before Chase Cabry gets to the line. Caution is out, and we will stack them up and do it once again, as I believe it was Nick Olson that got turned in that one.
And Vargas, and that was, I tell you what, that was a great job by Josh Mendoza. He saw the wreck start to develop, and before anybody was even completely around, he threw the flag because he knew that they were going to wad some stuff up, some more championship drivers in this. Ryan Vargas, as I mentioned, Presley Sora and Leighton Sabile banged wheels. I think that both of them are okay. Joey Padgett made it through the 78. Garrett Smithley, he did not. And even though it was Will Rogers and Jordan Buster maybe getting the most out of that as far as damage, still playoff drivers involved in that, and we get to try it again, Blake.
It started right around Nick Olson, Colin Fern. Fern threw a block. Olson, I'm sure, wasn't putting up with it. And then Presley Sora got in the back of Nick Olson right there. And, oh, man, what a wreck that, again, that, like you mentioned, takes out a lot of playoff drivers. 4 to be, in fact, involved in that yellow. So that will move a lot of drivers further on back and kind of change the running order of the playoffs. You can see stopped right there on the front straightaway. That was Ryan Vargas, another playoff contender. Raja Caruth, I believe he got enough damage that he had to come down pit road, so Raja is going to be out of the running, not a playoff driver, but tough for Raja, who drove through the field pretty much twice to try to get back up to the front and just could not find the luck to make it happen. Olson is also going to pit. I believe he may have crippling damage on that car, so that will shake things up. You can see how much it affects his 24 car, now 17 points and continuing to fall down the running order.
That's big going into a super speedway race where that gap all the way back to the cut line could get even worse. You look at Joey Padgett, who's also fallen 2 points below the cut line. Just how much things have shaken up just based on one incident and just based off the little bit of contact that Olson made entering turn 3 with Colin Furno. By the way, did a fantastic job to keep his car from any sort of trouble, just drifted up the track, was able to keep it straight. Looks like Josh Mendoza, race control, is going to call it a racing deal. No official fault on anybody there, so luckily no end of longest line penalties assessed to anyone out on the racetrack. But again, going to reset this thing up for a 2-lap dash, and only things could change more from here, Blake. Those playoff numbers aren't going to stay the same. After that last restart, it's not going to stay the same after this restart. And we've got a lot of playoff implications on the line as well. If you think about the driver up in front, Chase Cabry, with a possibility to win his second race of the season, to lock himself into the next round. Corey Heim with the same thing on tap. Adam Cabot looking to stay on the oldest set of tires in the field. The chaos and all the craziness only continues to boil over here inside these restarts.
And how about Alex LeBay? I know we mentioned him earlier on in the broadcast, just somebody that always is hanging around in a position to win. He's up here in 4th. I mean, he's not out of this thing. Matt Stalnick, we haven't talked about him in a little bit. He's in 6th. I mean, you got some guys up here that have an opportunity if they could just get a good restart. The problem is that these leaders have just been flying away from everybody else on these restarts and have just been able to have 2 or 3 car links when they get into turn number 1. If Alfredo can time it, or if Heim can time it, I think we'll see a move here into turn number 1, but they will have to execute it well. We are now on our second attempt of 3 possible attempts here in Monday Night Racing overtime for the season, or playoff opener, I should say, here in Season 6. Cabry, Alfredo, Heim, your top 3. Heim going to roll up to the restart, still give the jump to Cabry. 2 laps to go, yet again here at Richmond.
And again, outside row 1 just gets left in the dust. Alfredo having to fight for second. Corey Heim, they're going to clear before they even exit turn 2. And here comes Adam Cabot. Almost a bit of contact. We'll see if they can keep it clean on the back straightaway. A couple of moves being made. But Chase Cabry looking for his second win and the white flag from Richmond.
White flag in the air, and Cabry does make it this time. They wreck across the line, though, further back in the pack, but up front, Cabry has about 2 car lengths on Corey Heim. Does Heim have enough to try and make a move into turn number 3? And it looks like Heim is not going to be able to make anything happen off of turn 4. Chase Cabry is going to be the first winner in the Season 6 playoffs.
Just want to throw out there, Blake. Josh Mendoza, after the green flag, said the restart is under review. I don't know what they could be looking at, but certainly results unofficial at this point.
So we'll see and wait for official word on the ruling for the restart. You could see Presley Sora fall down the running order. He was involved in that incident as Cabry had made it to the line. And of course, not necessarily NASCAR rules here in iRacing. When we get to the white flag, we will race it through to the end because there's no safety concerns. So we will race all the way back to the checkered flag, even if there are a million wrecks on the last lap. So Cabry unofficially is your winner. We will await word, and we're getting word right now. The restart is fine. They are going to review the last incident, but that will not affect Chase Cabry. And there you can see spinning on the front straightaway, Alex LeBay. Presley Sora gets the worst end of that as he's going to lose all of those spots on the last lap.
Well, that is so tough there for Presley Sora, and obviously Alex Abay there, who also got caught up in that incident. Could have been a great result for both of those drivers. Tough for them. Chase Cabry, though, the first repeat winner, Blake. How about it after the first 9 races of the season?
Chase Cabry, your winner tonight here at Richmond. We'll be back to talk to some of your top competitors right after this.
This is an interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street. Everywhere. Interstate batteries. Outrageously dependable.
Visit our website at toughgoflooring.com.
Get the edge on your competition with P8 Performance Gummies. Formulated specifically for gamers and the esports industry, we packed our gummies with all the good stuff, including ingredients that are clinically proven to help tired eyes, improve reaction times, and help suppress computer vision syndrome. Take your focus and endurance to the next level and try P8 gummies today. Now available at Procelerate.com. Plus, if you're mad about gaming, we're looking to partner with influencers just like you. Drop us a line at support at Procelerate.com to see if you qualify to try our gummies for free. It's officially game on with all new P8 gummies.
Back with you here live for post-race coverage after the season or the playoff opening race here in Season 6. Chase Cabrey is your winner. Corey Heim finishes in second. Anthony Alfredo brings a home third for Exet. Fourth was Colin Fern. Adam Cabot finished in fifth. Matt Stalnick was sixth. Leighton Sabile, late addition of the playoffs after winning in the regular season finale, finishes in seventh. Ryan Vargas, eighth after a tumultuous night, a good points night for him. Will Rogers in ninth. And running out your top 10, Kenneth, was Max Kenneth.
Ford Martin in the brand new rig tonight ends up P11 after starting P20. Josh Slay ends up in 12th after all of it on the last couple of laps. Rookie Joey Padgett and playoff driver ends up 13th after the drop of the checkered flag, an up and down race for him. Sage Karam ends up P14 after a couple of crashes near the end. Garrett Smithley ends up as the last driver inside the top 15. Then goes Stephen Ellis rolling off 26. He will finish P16 and the end of tonight's race from Richmond. Nick Olsen also roller coaster race for the 24. He ends up though 17th after the end of this one. Justin Malillo 18th. 19th will go to Case Collenbach, and DJ Cummings in the 10 machine rounds out your top 20.
21st belongs to Michael Massey, 22nd Bailey Turner, 23rd Jordan Buster, 24th Robbie Lyons, and all these guys had some sort of issues coming down the stretch and could not get a decent result out of it. Brett Baldeck, 25th. Presley Sora involved in that crash on the last lap. Goes from a spot inside the top 10 to 26th. Alex LeBay, same deal, 27th. Brandon Brown, 28th. Chris Weaver in the 29th position. George Belfans Jr. rounding out the top 30. And then you have the rest. Some pretty big names back here, guys. Rajah Caruth out of the race, 31st. Reed Wilson, 32nd. Move back. David Schildhouse, the big playoff driver, in there in 35th position after his contact rolling upside down. He did get it back on the racetrack, but he has a huge hole to dig out of going into Daytona and Watkins Glen over the next 2 weeks, Blake.
It is going to be tough. We'll see if he can make a comeback. But right now it is all about Chase Cabrey, who has nothing to worry about at Daytona or Watkins Glen, as he has locked himself into the round of 8, and he is standing by with Eric Estep.
Chase Cabrey, the playoff opener winner, as Blake just mentioned, through to the next round. How big is that, Chase, to have that playoff position locked up early?
Oh, it's so big. Just to, especially Daytona next week. Like, I mean, it's so hit and miss. I'm liable to end up somewhere in the top 6 on the white flag and then upside down by turn 3. So, yeah, I'm so excited to just like lock into the round of 8 and not have to be super worried about next week. And then Watkins Glen with the Porsche, I think it's such an off the wall event that I had this circled all season long. Once I locked in, I looked at the playoffs and I said Richmond is one of my best places, and it's a short track. It fits what I like, and it's a super late model, so you can drive the heck out of them. And I was pretty pumped to get it done.
Absolutely. Well, you put on a show on those restarts, a clinic, I should say. You were ahead of most of the chaos and the carnage there in the closing laps, but yeah, how were you able to execute on restart after restart after restart?
Yeah, it just matters so much at Richmond to have control of the start, because you are on a bend essentially. It's a whole nother corner, so it like. You literally start at the bottom, and you can be, and the way the gearing works out, certain tracks with the gearing, with being in first gear, you can just, go from first gear and just be able to go to the floor. And with that, I was able to just drive away.
And drive away you did. I also got a note just after you crossed the finish line that you were the only driver tonight to finish with 0 incidents to their credit. So I believe that makes you the winner of the Mark Rabilis Photography Clean Driver Award. I'm fairly new at this, so I don't know what comes with that, but it's a pretty cool accolade, I believe, staying out of trouble tonight when so many other drivers did, especially with no fast repairs tonight. How big of a challenge was that, knowing that it was kind of a completely different format than what Monday Night Racing is used to?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's shout out to Mark for putting the $100 up every week for that. So, Mark's a big part of this league, and so it's pretty cool to get that. But it's important with not having the fast repair to stay clean and keep your nose in the right area. Because I was a big advocate of going to that no the no fast repair, just because I think it changes the pace of the race. It changes the way you race. And I think in past races, it's kind of hurt me because you do come down to take fuel, or you come down to play some strategy call thinking there'll be some bit of attrition, and you're buried back in 30th because everybody has clean race cars. So I think it mattered a lot, and I'm pretty excited they got rid of it.
Absolutely. Well, it was a good show tonight. Congratulations again on the win, Chase. What are you going to do the next 2 weeks? Just going to kind of go on a mini vacation, just make some practice laps out there? How do you approach the next 2 races?
I feel like after my win in the ARCA car, I was kind of, I kind of laid back and just had some fun. There was times where I felt like I was really fast and did some really dumb strategy just to have fun with it and see if it would work out. And then there was times where I messed up or got caught up in a wreck. And so it was nice to have the win, and it'll be nice to have the win over the next 2 weeks, especially going to Daytona. I can just kind of go in there and have some fun and push and try to win the race. And if I end up upside down, who cares? So it allows me to kind of regroup and focus and figure out, I don't know what the round of 8, I don't know where it starts, at what car, what track, but start to look forward to that.
Absolutely. Yep. No time like the present. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Chase, and congrats on the huge win.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. That was Chase Cabry, winner here tonight at Richmond. We'll go now down to Kenneth, who is standing by with our runner-up.
Indeed, here, first super late model race in M&R for Corey Heim. But Corey, you end up in P2. You were fast in practice. It looked like that easily transitioned into the race pace. You were second going into those final 2 laps on the last handful of restarts. Did you have anything there left for Chase Cabry to fight for the win?
Not really. It's kind of hard to tell, though. I feel like, being first on the restarts was huge. And, unless you were up there, it was kind of hard to do much with the leader. And after about 15 laps into any run, it was hard to pass, and it definitely made my night tough. I sped on my first stop after wrecking in qualifying and starting pretty much last. And I think like around halfway, I had to come from last, and somehow, I don't know how, but somehow we kept it clean, and we're there at the end with my EPI Toyota Camry, and ended up second. I know the restarts were kind of washy on the front row. I wish we would get rid of the restart boxes. I feel like it'd make it a little bit more competitive, but Chase was the best car in qualifying and the best car in the race, so you can't take that away from him.
Well, nonetheless, a second place finish here from Richmond Raceway. I know a lot of drivers had tumultuous outings here in this event, but now you move into Daytona with the ARCA cars next week, second race of the round of 12 with a lot of momentum. How are you going to try to build up on that momentum going for the rest of the round to ensure an advancement into the round of 8?
Yeah, I'm pretty, happy with tonight. I mean, these next 2 races are really hard to predict. I don't race a whole lot of Porsche stuff at all, so that's going to be kind of a blind race for me. And then you got the ARCA Daytona, and anything could happen there. So, to have a P2 run tonight in this first round, I think is huge for me. And I got to approach Daytona probably pretty cautiously, I'd say. Just going into the next 2 races blind is going to be tough, but just happy with the P2 and going to move forward and try to advance out of this first round here.
Well, you're easily the largest mover of the race by far, 30th to 2nd here from the virtual Richmond Raceway. Corey, congratulations on this podium finish on behalf of all of us at Podium Esports. Congratulations on the finish once again. We'll see you 1 week from tonight from Daytona with the ARCA cars. So that is Corey Heim in the 51 second at the end of tonight's 157 lap outing here tonight from Richmond. We'll step it down to 3rd place, Anthony Alfredo in the 33, who's caught up with our very own Jacob Hitz.
It's been a while since we've gotten the chance to talk with the Pasta Man, and hey, the internet's fixed. How about it?
Yeah, it's been a while, way too long. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to do any sim racing whatsoever, not just the Monday Night Racing League. So it's been about 6 weeks at least since I've run a race. Whatever the last race I ran was the last Monday night race I ran, so I don't even know how long ago that was. Been trying every week, just haven't been able to make it work. But shout out to the technician who was able to help get me tuned up and come back for a podium finish. So I'll take it for not racing for this long. I definitely felt just weird, out of the groove a little bit. It took me a while to find a rhythm and get smooth again, but we were able to have plenty of pace. I wish we could have restarted on the bottom one of those times. Just last restart, we're on the top, had to settle for 3rd. But I think if we could have restarted on the bottom, we maybe would have had a shot for it. But at the same time, because all those races I missed, I'm not playoff eligible. So I want to be mindful of those guys racing for all that as well, because I know what that's like.
How hard is it when you're up at the front like you were for most of tonight, racing around guys that have the green banners, they're able to run for a championship, and you have the speed to be running for a championship so close a season ago, but you're on the outside looking in? It's got to feel different. How do you adapt into racing those guys now?
Just got to be mindful, because I know when I was racing for championships, it's, frustrating at times when there's some guys who aren't eligible. Everyone has a right to race for the win or race hard, but it can be in the way at times, or cause some trouble. So you just don't want to do that. I want to race hard, race for a win here myself, but be mindful of what a win means for these guys to get into the next round and whatnot. So it's not really, it's unfortunate because I didn't get to run all the races and have a shot at it, but it's not like I missed it on performance. I mean, I just missed over half the races, so that's why I'm not eligible for it, which is like I said, disappointing. But we came out tonight and showed them why we got plenty of pace to still make a championship run when we do want to go for it next time, or don't have any sort of technical issues, that is. But first race with Logitech G on the car as well, so shout out to them. We had a really fast Chevy tonight, and I think I'm looking forward to many more races together, because they technically should have been on my car the last 5 or 6 weeks, whatever it was. I haven't been able to race, so felt like we made up for that tonight.
One final quick question, because somebody brought it up. I forgot, because there were 14 cautions between this and the end. The contact with Rajah Caruth. I know you guys had a rivalry a couple seasons ago. What happened there going into turn number 3?
Oh, just a misjudgment on my part. So I told him I got cleared by my spotter to make a quick crossover at the last second. So I went for it, and I barely brushed him just flush on the bumper, and it just got him all sorts of crossed up. So I didn't mean to do that, of course, but it happens. It's racing, I guess. So thankfully he was able to save it, and we were both able to keep racing to the end.
All right, Anthony. Well, thanks for your time, and best of luck next week from Daytona and the ARCA cars. Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
That's Anthony Alfredo coming home P3, and thanks to Blake McCandless for the assist there on that final question. I honestly forgot that was even part of the race tonight until you said something. I was like, oh, yeah, that was tonight.
A lot happened in this race. Like you said, there was a lot going on, especially towards the end of that one. But man, I gotta say that was one heck of a race we just had. We had green flag runs. We had a little attrition. We had just about everything in between. It's safe to say, Eric, I think it was a pretty good opener to these playoffs.
Yeah, I had a blast. You kind of mentioned it there. The first half went, or most of the first half went caution free. And then even towards the end, amidst the chaos and carnage, some different pitch strategies lent itself to some great racing up near the front. But congrats to Chase Cabry. I know when I helped stream the season 5 playoffs, didn't see Chase in the field too much. So cool to see how much success he's had in Monday Night Racing season 6. He's going to be a threat to win this championship for sure. First driver, the only driver locked into the second round. And I'm excited for the next 2 weeks at the very minimum, because you got guys like David Shieldhouse well below the cut line needing a win. Ryan Vargas, another fan favorite who's right there on the bubble. So going to be some great racing here coming up. And tonight I think was just the tip of the iceberg.
All right, Eric. Well, there is a lot left to be determined next week, but we still have continuing coverage tonight from Richmond. On behalf of our entire broadcast team, Jacob Hitz, Kenneth Bueno, and Eric Eastep, I'm Blake McCandless, saying so long for the broadcast booth, but we're going to turn things over to the front stretch post-race show and our good friends Brennan Houff and Michael Massey. Guys?
Thank you, Blake. And, well, we're back again. As Jim Mora said once, about 20 years ago or whenever that was, playoffs. I don't know how to describe that race. I was saying it off camera. It was about 60 or 70 laps of clean and green, about as good as you can expect it. And then you had about the last 100 of what did we just watch? But what about you, Mike? You got a solid finish tonight.
Yeah, 21st place in the Ray Hendrick Flying 11 throwback car, which Richmond native Ray Hendrick had to do it at Richmond Raceway. So, by the way, put Ray Hendrick in the Hall of Fame. He belongs in the NASCAR Hall of Fame. But, yeah, so it was a good race. I lagged back at the start, as I tend to do, and I didn't lag back as much as David Shieldhouse. He started on pit road because he thought there was going to be a wreck in turn 1, lap 1, as many of us thought there would be. There was not. We made it. And Shieldhouse
I know, right?
got lapped right away. So he did not come out of that looking too good. I didn't come out of that looking too good either, because by the time I laid back, I was half a lap down or something. And next thing you know, there was a wreck that probably should have been a caution early on. All I know is I was entering turn 3 and Ford Martin was sitting right there. And I had swerved so hard that he was on the inside. I hit the outside wall. That's how hard I had to swerve.
Yeah.
Him. So yeah, I got lapped there early. Spent the whole race lap down until I finally got that free pass at the end because of all those cautions, because of the wreck fest that it's and yeah, 21st place, because everybody just lost their mind on the last 20 laps. It seemed.
I don't know what to even say about the last 20. I mean, first we'll mention congrats to Chase Cabry, playoff driver, won the race. First repeat winner this season.
He moves on now, right?
He moves on. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a relief, especially with Daytona next week in the ARCA cars, which is always a thriller and usually unexpected. But I mean, overall, I thought it was going well. It was a great race, you know. Everybody seemed to be keeping their heads on. I know the track didn't really widen out, but you know, as the race went on the restarts, and you know, once we got past halfway, it's like you saw the second groove finally start to kind of come in, and then you saw more passing, especially on the restarts. Of course, there were a lot of stack ups, but you know, it was a typical Richmond race, I thought, and you know, I don't know, it was a very interesting race, even though the end was a complete junk fest. So
yeah, so we went without fast repairs this week. I believe first time in Monday Night Racing history where we didn't have a single fast repair. And I think that's why we had cleaner racing at the start, but then at the end everybody wants to go for the win, you know. And I think part of it too is that we started in the daytime, kind of sundown, so that the track was hotter and slicker. So you really had to keep the car under you at the first part. But as the sun went down, the track got a lot more grip as your tires got wear on them. I mean, the tires did not give out. Chase Cabry told us that top 4 all ran their fastest lap on the last.
How about that? Oh my.
So I think that's what led to more wrecks, though. People have more grip, and they could just go in there like a wild man at the end of the race. Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. I like Richmond. Richmond gets a bad rap sometimes. I know I'm from there, so I'm biased, but I thought it was a good race. If we could have spread the wrecks out a little more.
Yeah, I know a lot, and you know, don't even worry about the home track bias. You know, I mean, Pocono is the closest track to me. And I know people aren't always thrilled with Pocono, so I always say, oh, Pocono was a decent race, you know? And people will hate it just because of Pocono, but I'm like, nah, I can never hate it. It's my home track. But
Pocono is a great racetrack.
There you go. Okay, I'll take that. And, you know, people aren't always thrilled with Richmond, but you know what? I'll say it's a good track. We just need to maybe smooth it out or something, or we got to do something to it. But that's another time, another day. But yeah, and I was thinking about that. You mentioned the weather. You know, right when I came into the session, it was about, I think 89 degrees was the track temp. And it was, you know, it was starting to get to that full darkness. And then I saw once the race started, it was like 5 degrees cooler on the track temp. I'm like, I wonder if that's going to, you know, how it's going to play into these guys' cars and what it's going to do. And obviously, as you said, the sun went down, the grip went up, and apparently the brains went out the window. So that's the only way to describe it. But yeah, I mean, playoffs, round 1, I mean, it's expected to get wild like that. And again, Chase Cabry with pit strategy too, not just speed. He did come out on top. So good for him. You know, he moves on, doesn't have to worry about the last 2 races of the round. And yeah, so wild race. But I believe we're going to have a few guests tonight, all of which had very solid runs for the way it went.
The first guy probably needed it the most because he is in the playoffs. He barely made the playoffs and is kind of hovering around that border. Matt Stalnick, are you there, Matt? We got you.
There he is. I think he's here.
We welcome Matt Stalnick to the program.
How you doing?
Hey, there he is.
There we go. We see you
Hey,
now.
Matt.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Last guy in the playoffs, and you get a 6th place finish. How about that?
Yeah, man, it was an awesome night tonight. In fact, if you look behind me, you'll be able to see you guys 3 seconds probably on a delay. Because I always watch the post race show. But yeah, no, great night tonight. To me, a 6th place may as well be.
Oh, there we are.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, 6th place may as well have been a win as far as I'm concerned tonight. I started off, just made a huge rookie mistake on the first lap, trying to be way too conservative, and just lost the rear of the car and self-spun. Managed to not hit anything. And then, I'm usually a hothead, which many people in the league will tell you. And some reason, I just didn't let it get to me tonight and managed to drive all the way back to the field. So I don't know. It was a great night all the way around. Made a really good strategy call with my teammate DJ Cummings late in the race off of one of those last few yellows before the real big string of yellows came out, where we both took 2 tires because the tires were pretty much even tonight. You could take 2 as long as it wasn't an extremely long green flag run, and you were going to be able to stay right with the leaders. And in some parts of the corner, it almost felt like the car had better balance. So that helped a ton. I think gained like 10 spots just from doing that. So and then just kind of avoided some of the chaos there at the end and brought it home 6th, which again, I looked at this opening round of the playoffs with a short track and super speedway, a road course. To me, the super speedway stood out as a strength, the road course a weakness. So I felt like this was a really important one to get a good result so that I can go execute at Daytona next week and then not have to rely on points too much at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, for sure. It was wild out there. Did you cause that thing on the first lap where it was Ford? Did he get involved with you there? Because
I think there was 2 separate wrecks.
Was there? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was just a huge stack up, and I was on the bottom. I didn't hit anything, and nobody hit me. So I think whatever happened, because I saw that Ford also spun, because I ended up passing him going on the backstretch next lap. I'm like, well, I don't know what happened to him. And then him and I just kind of drove through the field. Ford had pretty good speed tonight, and I know he got caught in some stuff there towards the end, but I don't know. It was early enough. Like you want something like that to happen, or if it's going to happen, you want it to happen early because you get all race to kind of recompose yourself and get back
Ford
after
cut
it.
you any breaks tonight?
Not at all. And by the way, I watched last week, and I think you could probably take a guess as to who he was referring to. So, yeah,
we were trying to guess, and we were like, we didn't know who, but I think we kind of figured it out by now.
We are the best of friends, truly, away from the racetrack. But there's definitely like a Dale and Rusty thing going on, with the added bonus of being teammates thrown in. So yeah, we have just been oil and water on the racetrack, and just as racing rivals this season. So it's mostly his beef. I have zero problem with Ford as it relates to racing. He's been making a mountain out of a molehill with every little incident, and was mad at us last week because he couldn't keep up with us in the draft. So yeah, just one of those things. Yeah. But no, it's all in good fun. Hated to see that he got caught in that wreck because he was really fast tonight. I thought he had really good speed and he deserved to go get a top 5, top 10. So hated to see whatever happened to him.
You talk about teammates, like Ford was mad last week and now whatever happened this week. But now you go to another plate track next week. I know it's kind of different compared to, New Daytona and Talladega, because Daytona 07, you got the bumpy surface. Don't know if tire wear is going to come into play at all. And the way the ARCA cars work, you can't really push that much. But teamwork does, it's always beneficial. What do you think? You guys going to kind of smooth it out for next week and try to work together as a team? You got other plans, or how are you going to approach it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I hope so. I think, I know we were joking earlier, but at the end of the day, I don't think DJ and I did the best job as teammates last week. That's just reality. And I think there's a push and pull that has to happen when you're teammates with somebody. And I think Ford and then DJ and myself, not to just air our team laundry, but I think we were on two sides of kind of a philosophical coin as it relates to how we wanted to work together in the draft. And Ford kind of got separated from us at one point late in that race, and we felt like we were too far ahead to go sacrifice ourselves and come back just due to some of the nuances of that package and just other things that were happening. And he's like, well, no, like it's a play track. We're committed to working together. Like, I need you guys to come back. So I don't know exactly what the right answer. I think there's a lot of perspectives. I just know that we need to get aligned better because we've proven as a team that on play tracks that when we do work really well together, we can have great success. I mean, the Talladega race a few years ago in the trucks, I want to say it was like season 4. Ford had gotten wrecked early in that race, but I mean, me, Ford, and DJ worked beautifully together. And then DJ helped push me to a win. And I mean, we ran up front the whole time, and I thought it was because we really executed. So I don't necessarily think it matters what package it is. You do need to work well together as teammates. And like I said, I can only speak for myself. I don't think I did the best job as a teammate at all last week. I think a lot of Ford's criticisms were pretty valid. And I think there were things that he could have done that could have helped us do a lot better. So yeah, I think whether it's myself, Ford, DJ, Mark, for the guys on our team, like it's an important race next week for any of us. Like, it's not just for me. Like, these guys got to go. They want to go get a win. They want to go win some money. There's a prize every single week. And a win in this series means a lot. So regardless of if any of us can go up there and get a good run, we're going to have to work together, especially because I think track condition is going to be harder to get next week. It's going to be harder to pass.
Did you get a chance to look at the points picture yet? Do you know how you're stacking up?
Yeah. I just looked right before I came on broadcast here. I'm 9 back in 6th. So I started off with no playoff points and knowing I had a pretty big hill to climb. And there was a lot of heavy hitters that had problems. And like Schildhouse, I don't know what he was thinking on the first lap. Deciding to start from the pits, but unfortunately that put him in some bad straights, and then Presley got caught in a wreck that actually I was involved in there on the last lap, and that hurt him too. So, yeah, I mean, look, at this point in the playoffs, like, you can't be too worried about what anybody else is doing. You just got to try to get out there and put your best foot forward and go do max points. And yeah, I mean, P6 going into a track that I consider my strength, yeah, I'll take that all day.
Yeah. The funny thing with that Schildhouse situation was when he came out the pits, that's when Ford's incident happened. So he almost came off pit road and got collected an incident. So that was pretty funny to watch that almost play out firsthand. But no, good run tonight. Thanks so much for coming on the show. We wish you the best of luck as you chase down this M&R championship.
Appreciate it, guys. Hope to talk to you guys again before the end of the season.
Yes, yeah, definitely, sir. Matt. Good run tonight. Congrats.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. That was Matt Stalnick, P6. Good run for him.
Now we got the dirt from both sides on crypto, right?
Yeah. I'm glad we did. I mean, I know it was kind of tough to figure out, but I think we kind of got down to the bottom of it. But hey, they got to work together. He's right. Next week, doesn't matter the package or what type of Daytona it is. It's still a plate race. So anyway, that leads us to our next guest, who had a much needed and very he's very happy tonight. Max Kennan, top 10.
Yeah. Top 10. Finally, after this terrible season I'm having, I missed the playoffs for the first time this year after not missing it since I came in the league, and I'm just happy to run good.
What was it like out there? I mean, you finished 10th. You got through all the mess. I mean, I don't remember where you were running most of the night, but 10th place still, in the way the race went, that should feel like a win.
Yeah, I was running around maybe 14th or 15th during that first green flag run. I was kind of just, honestly, everyone was going really hard at the start, and I didn't think that tires would not wear as much as, like, they didn't wear at all, and I thought they were going to wear more than they did. So I was kind of stuck in a little bit of a lull between like 15th and 20th. And then we had that caution, and then chaos ensued, and I was just trying to keep my nose clean the whole time and staying on the bottom and trying to look ahead and trying not to get run over by everyone behind me. and that seemed to be an issue tonight. People just can't hit the brakes, and but I'm just at the end. I was lucky on those last few restarts just to be slotted in on the bottom. I was following Presley up through there. He was making some holes and just stay on the bottom with him and came out P10.
It really seemed like the bottom was the place to be because I kept getting trapped on the outside, and I would just lose 3-4 spots. If I was there on the bottom, I'd be able to pick up a couple.
Yeah, the outside would work for me, like maybe 1 or 2 laps on the restarts, but then after that, you got to get to the bottom, or you're gonna get freight trained all the way to the back. You just can't hold it.
Yeah, sure. But did you cause any incidents today? Did you get any credit with anything? Or
No, I almost did though. Gary Sexton was blocking me because he didn't want to get freight trained to the back, and I kind of ran him in the corner going into 1, and he got upset, but I didn't wreck him. But that was about the only thing I got into tonight.
It's kind of good when you have sort of a drama-free race, especially with the way it went tonight. To come out with a top 10 and say, hey, I got a clean car, I got a top 10 finish, let me just get out of here and go on to the next one.
Yeah.
But you're going to Daytona.
Right.
So it's not like it's any cleaner, unfortunately.
Right. Plus, I'm just racing for wins, so I'm not really looking at the points picture. You just go out and go all out and do what you can.
Yeah, but talk about, your season unfortunately hasn't gone the way it has, as you said, or you wanted it to, as you said. What kind of momentum, I guess, and how good does it feel, just to get a top 10 finally? Now you can move on to the rest of the season, race for wins. How good does it feel, and what confidence does it give you going into these final handful of races?
Oh, it gives a ton of confidence. I mean, it feels like the last few races and the whole season I've been running top 10 like where I usually run, and then we come down to the end of the races and we have that last restart and I'm always at the wrong place at the wrong time, and it just seems like trying to get my luck to turn around, man, and I feel like this is a step in the right direction going forward. I love bumpy Daytona. It's one of my favorite tracks. I think we're gonna have a fun time there.
Sure. Now we like to ask people the first time they come on. This is the first time we've had you on, which is way overdue. Way overdue. I'll say that. But so you're in the industry. You basically grew up around NASCAR, right? And now you find yourself with JTT Daugherty. I botched that like crazy. JTT Daugherty Racing.
Yeah.
So what do you do for them, and what's that kind of been like growing up around the NASCAR scene?
It's been awesome. I love working at GTG. I started there in May of last year. I'm a setup engineer for them. I prep all the cars, set them up before they go to the racetrack, use 3D measuring technology to make sure like the car's in order, wheelbases, measurements. And then I send it off to the crew chief and them. They prep it and they haul it off to the racetrack. And it's a pretty cool job. I love doing it. But growing up around racing, my dad being a crew chief for as long as he has, it's just always something I wanted to do, and I can't see myself doing anything else outside the industry. I just think it's a fun time, and they always say enjoy. Like you want to do what you love to do, and this is what I love to do. So, yeah,
yeah. Never work a day in your life, huh?
Yeah.
How did you get into Monday Night Racing?
It was actually right when the whole COVID deal started. I was at home and everyone had nothing to do, and so I DM'd Ford and I was like, it was the second season was about to start up, and I was like, hey, I was doing an internship with Kyle Busch Motorsports at the time. I was like, and this is when he was more strict on industry people only, He's like, are you really? I was like, yeah. And he's like, well, come on, we'll race. And then ever since then, it's been growing and growing and growing, and here I am.
Now you say you do the setup and 3D technology for JTGs and all that. How does that translate to iRacing if you've tried, iRacing setups? Is it similar or is it completely different? I know it's kind of mixed opinion there, but
yeah, I've always had a tough time getting the handle on next gen cars in iRacing. I feel like there's still more to be translated on how they handle. They kind of feel like light. I don't know how to put it. Whenever I'm driving them, they just feel like once they're gone, they snap. But setup wise, I would think tire pressures are pretty close. Like if I put a actual cup setup tire pressure in for like Martinsville or Bristol, it actually translates pretty well over to iRacing in terms of grip and how you expect it to handle. But other than that, I don't know about the clicks and stuff like that on iRacing.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't either. I just I know the truck a little bit, but that's about it. I
Yeah.
don't know anything about the next gen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I guess nobody really does. We're all still kind of getting used to next gen. It's whole industry.
Yeah, and real life and in
Real life and
the sim racing world.
Yeah, y'all
Yeah,
got a
'cause-
test coming up in real life. I know that.
Yes, 24th and 25th, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's coming up.
Does it feel like an off season to you?
Yes and no. It's different because normally with cup teams and stuff, you start building your Daytona car around like the end of the year, like right after Phoenix is over, like November, December, January. You've got your Daytona car built and you're working on other things. But now, since you're not building your own bodies and it's like a kit car, you just put it together. You're basically you have to find projects to do through the off season and not have to get a head start, since we're getting all these updates to the rear chassis, to make them crush so drivers stop getting concussions. Like teams only right now ourselves, we only have 2 chassis in house and we have 7. So things are getting tight down to the wire.
It seems like a tight schedule, You guys are like a month away from the season here. You go to LA soon, and now here you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, they're paving LA right now. I mean, it's just crazy how everything comes together.
Yeah, for sure. Well, do you go to the track with the team, or do you just stay back at the shop?
Part time, but when I'm not at the track, we have a war room that all the other engineers go to, and we look at cameras, talk to the team from the shop during the race day.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully I'll see you at the track. Sometime this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But thanks for coming on. Like I said, it was overdue, and congrats on a great top 10. Hopefully your luck is turned around and you're getting back to how you were.
Yeah, I'll gladly come back. I like doing these things. So you guys have a good one.
Maybe we'll see you in the top 5 next week.
Oh yeah, maybe top 3, maybe, or victory lane. Who knows?
There you go. All right.
Who knows?
There you go. Good goal to have. All right. Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
See you guys. Thank you.
That was Max Kennan, top 10 tonight, finally for him. I know he was overjoyed. It was good to have him on. I know he's been in the league for a while, and like you said, it was well overdue for him to be on. But I think that's going to be all our guests for tonight.
Just 2 guests tonight. Crazy race. And yeah, don't need not as many talking points. I need to get out, see who's mad at who and things like that. Because that's the thing, hopping on here right after we finished, stuff hasn't. You go to check the driver chat after we've wrapped, and it turns out somebody's mad at somebody. We had no idea. We never saw them run into each other.
I'm sure somebody's mad at somebody right now, and they're just keeping their lips sealed, and their fingers aren't typing, and nobody's saying a word. But let's look forward to next week a little bit. Bumpy Daytona, ARCA cars. I know for me personally on iRacing, that is it's one of the most fun combinations, but it could also be one of the most chaotic. Just because you can't bump very much in the ARCA car, because once you bump in those cars, you're pretty much going around. B, with Bumpy Daytona, holding it 3 wide is not very easy compared to what it is at smooth Daytona, we'll call it, in Talladega. So and I think it was Matt that said it. It's going to be a track position race to an extent. Like, I think it's going to be crazy. I mean, tires could come into play, pit strategy, all that. Bumpy Daytona is a very interesting race, usually, no matter what, official, league, or anything. But what are you expecting here, Mike? More of the same?
There's no faster pairs, so...
yeah, too. No faster pair. Yeah.
My hope is that I lay back at the start and 39 guys pile up on lap 1, and then I just cruise to a W. That's my goal for it.
We didn't even talk about it. Are you in the top 35 now?
I gotta be, right?
You had a good finish last week, and now you got a 21st this week. So you gotta be.
For sure. Just racking up points left and right. People have been missing too. We only had, what do we have, 38 cars tonight? 40?
I think, it was 38, I believe, yeah.
38? Yeah, because I was running 38th at one point. As long as I didn't finish there, though, right? But, yeah, I gotta be there. So that'd be nice, not having to do the qualifying races. We didn't have one tonight because it was a shorter field.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully, I don't know, maybe everybody won't lose their mind. Like tonight, maybe it'll be clean for half of it, and then, I mean, it is Daytona. It's ARCA cars, so that's like a wreck waiting to happen.
Unfortunately,
in real life and the sim.
Yeah.
So
one thing we really didn't mention were the playoff guys who had trouble tonight, and I know we kind of briefly mentioned it, but real quick before we end our show tonight, we had two guys really who kind of put themselves in a little bit of a hole. We had David, as we mentioned, who started from the pits. And maybe the most surprising guy who is in a little bit of a hole, I believe, is Presley Sora. He got wrecked there on the last lap with, I forget who he wrecked with, but he finished, I believe, in the 20s after running up front the entire race. So that's pretty surprising, and Presley's always up front. Now, I don't know what the points look like, honestly. I haven't taken a look. I know Matt mentioned where he was a couple of when he was on, but these points, I tell you, with David being in a hole and haven't been to the Final Four before, and Presley being where he is, it's still tight, and a lot of the playoff guys finished up front. And going to Daytona now, it's going to be even crazier, I think. I mean, I'm hoping it's a little bit cleaner, but let's hope it's crazy in a good way.
Yeah, if you're Chase Caber, you're feeling great for not having to worry about points.
100%.
But yeah, David Schildhouse, I mentioned that thing at the start, but then he was in a wreck late where he ended up like in the catch fence. I'm pretty sure if this was real life, people in those first couple rows might have been dead.
I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, you're probably right.
But I didn't see the thing with Presley. I guess now that I think about it, I looked in the top 10 and he wasn't there. But yeah, that's if there's somebody though that can pull out a clutch win and climb out of a points hole or something like that, it's Presley Sora, right? Yeah. I don't think it's over for him just because of one bad race. Same with Schildhouse. I don't think it's over for either of those guys. Look out for them next week.
No, I believe that every playoff driver finished in the top 20 outside of Schildhouse and Presley, which is crazy. I mean, they're in the playoffs for a reason. And even at times tonight, a lot of them weren't looking like they were going to finish top 5, top 10. It was looking like a mix of non-playoff guys and playoff guys, but I think that we had 4 of them finish in the top 5. So cream rises to the top as always. But hey,
for sure,
we got Daytona next week. ARCA cars, looking forward to it. But yep, congrats to Chase Cabre tonight. Thanks to our guests for joining us, Max Kennan and Matt Stalnick. We will be back here next week after the race. Tune into Podium Esports. And I believe this race now, we're going to mention is on Eric Estep's YouTube channel now. And also our frontstretch.com YouTube channel. Next Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Tune in. ARCA Cars, Daytona 2007. I am Brandon Hoff. That is Michael Massey. We'll see you guys next week.
Also, check out frontstretch.com for the Monday Night Racing review that we do every week.
That too.
Goodbye.
See you guys.